You need precision, timing, and teamwork. Racing isn't a solo sport. You need your pit crew and your driver. Neither is cooking. That's why we built YumTwo. YumTwo is your cooking co-driver that lets you cook and find recipes that you'll both like with whatever preferences you have. No matter how hard or how easy it is to find recipes, we'll always have a recipe for you to pick. We're sponsoring the College Cup Series this season, but off the track, we want to sponsor your dinner. Get on the grid before launch and join the waitlist now at YumTwo.com.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. It is time once again for a little bit of YumTwo College Cup Series action here on Monday nights live on the CIL YouTube. Getting ready for race number 8 of this season, coming to you live from the virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway. Tonight, it's the Sandown is for sure better than this 200, presented by, well, Clint Halterman. And we'll talk about that in just a second. Welcome in, everybody. I'm Alex Gagnon, producer Lee Kane, co-commentator Brad Daniels with us here tonight. Brad, we're coming off of a wild one at Road Atlanta last week with a historic victory for Sean Campbell. We'll talk about that a little bit in a moment. But how are you feeling now? Road course removed and looking ahead to this next slate of races where from here through the rest of the season, we're pretty much just at tracks that you'd expect these cars to be at, and just really some old school stock car racing coming up from now through the end of the season.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to see a lot of these drivers who are more accustomed to your typical next-gen car type. They have a feeling for this car, so they're going to love these races coming up. Obviously, Martinsville next week is going to be that curveball in the whole entire rest of the season at this point, but we got through, I think, the wild cards for the most part, and now I think everyone can get back to settled into these mile-and-a-half tracks here at Homestead. A great track for these next gens.
Yeah, it really is. This is, you could argue this, outside of maybe Kansas, is one of the best tracks on the schedule for these race cars. Multiple grooves of racing, decent bit of tire wear, decent bit of strategy that goes in here, especially on the long green flag run. People, I think, are going to have a really good time here tonight, and we're going to really see the driver's skill take them to the front, especially if they can rip that high line up toward the wall. I have no doubt we'll see some of our folks who are high up in the points here really pushing the issue, pushing that cushion as high up as they can, getting to the fence. But let's take a look at the schedule, see where we're at here. We are now into the back half of the season on its outright. Here, only about 6 races to go, counting tonight. And of those 6, 4 of them are mile-and-a-half-esque, I guess you could say. The only exceptions there, Martinsville and Auto Club. And Homestead, I think, this is that opportunity. This is the moment where this is a headlong sprint from here to the finish, Brad, to finish out your year. And either you're just going to have it or you're not on this slate of schedules with how mile-and-a-half heavy this last month and a half is going to be.
Absolutely. I think anyone that's going to be trying to take home the championship for the YumTwo College Cup Series this season is going to have to try and get themselves focused on these mile-and-a-half tracks. As you said, they're making up 4 of the next 6 races. And, Martinsville, you can practice as much as you want, but if you're not used to these cars at preferably, the best setting for them, you're definitely going to get left in the dust. Matthew Morton is the epitome of mile-and-a-half success in the YumTwo College Cup Series in years prior that he has partaked in these mile-and-a-half tracks. But there's a lot of others that right now are crowding around him at the top of the standings and trying to make their name known. I think also this shows that the people in the top 10, we're going to probably see a majority of them stay within the top 10 at this point and try to push for that championship. You might see 1 or 2 outliers currently get into that top 10, maybe even top 5 range if they really put on a heater for the second half of the season. But I think right now, this everyone, is just going to try and be pushing for December right now, as that's kind of an MLB little connection there. Everyone's pushing for October in the MLB, here in the College Cup Series pushing for December at Kansas.
Absolutely. And, I think that brings up a good point here. If we can maybe jump, Producer Lee, over to the points here in just a second, we can talk about that, because that really got shuffled up after last week at Road Atlanta. Sean Campbell, huge win, setting a record-breaking margin of victory, over 20 seconds ahead of a returning Muhammad Alif last week at Road Atlanta. And those two guys, just dusted the field. It was unreal. But Matthew Morton had struggles very early on in that race, and the points leader really took a bit of a setback after Road Atlanta. So now we're getting back into what Morton considers kind of his bread and butter here. These 1.5 miles, he's found a lot of success on them in this series. And I have a feeling that this is exactly what he's been looking for. As you can see, he's dropped down now to 4th in these points after Road Atlanta. Right now, top of the board, Wingate's Brandon Schulenberger, for the first time this season, has put that number 7 machine up at the top of the standings. Daniel Nenny right in the mix there, only 4 points back of the Wingate University machine. Ball State currently sitting in 2nd there. Sean Campbell, by nature of his electric win last week, has moved up to 3rd in these points. Morton sits in 4th, with Edwin Onofre tied for that spot as well. He's continued to plug in a really solid season here for North Texas. And Brad, as you're looking at this top 10 after a big shuffle last week, what jumps out at you?
I think the biggest thing right now is just how there's a gap between the top 2 and the rest of the field right now. And considering Matthew Morton's now down to 4th, just shows you these top 3 have came to play. Sean Campbell, we talked about how electric his race win last week was, but even at these normal, one, and no matter really the configuration, he seems to always be at least in the top 15 at all times in these races. And definitely that consistency shows, as he's now 3rd in the points. Even if you do nothing for the entire season and end up with a win, that's not going to pole vault you to 3rd. He's definitely pulled a lot more to his resume for this season than just this past week. So I think Sean Campbell's definitely someone with a lot of speed. We've seen him do it time and time again on the roadside and time again here in the YumTwo College Cup Series. So other than that, everyone here pretty fast. You're not going to really bat an eye at, I think, anyone here. Jake Cummings and Clint Halterman, 2 drivers that I also think obviously had a lot of speed in years past, and they're definitely still here to play. They haven't lost any speed or anything like that.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned Halterman specifically. That's a guy who's had 4 DNFs this year, not to mention the win in the podium last week. The fact that he's still running 10th just goes to show that when he is locked in, dude's wicked fast. It's just the consistency is part of the reason why he's not really in that title fight at the moment. You see here 11th through 20th. Connor Zabosian putting together a pretty underrated year for Kettering, him and Maverick Davis both. Tyler Schoes and Doug Newbing, a bunch of new names here in this 11th to 20th group. Edward Sanchez back in the 14th spot, starting to put some stuff together here for Baruch. Kelton Quick, Keegan Kalick down there a little further on down. Let's see who we got here. 21st on through 30th. Got Nick Stockner, Ethan Head, Garrett Veit, and Aaron Ramon. A lot of veterans here in this 21st to the 30th range. And folks who, even if you're not where you want to be in the standings at this point of the year, Brad, as we'll keep looking deeper in, this is that time where it's like, well, might as well let it all hang out there, because a win could really change your perception on how your year has gone from here.
Absolutely, and a lot of these drivers you can see all the way down through the rankings here now to 70th. A win, even a top 10 finish, pole vaults you through these standings. And as time goes on, a lot of these drivers just want to make a name for themselves and maybe set themselves up even for next season. And I think this part of the season, you're going to show that speed. And actually, Alex, we're going to go to our qualifying order right now.
That we are. We're going to take a look here at the grid, and we'll thank our sponsors after that. So Maverick Davis looks to be that he has put this thing in prime position. Take a look at that. 32.108 for the Kettering machine. He puts it on pole. Ronan Suarez from Santa Monica College rolls off on the outside of row number 1. Row number 2 will be Brian Ferwetta from Embry-Riddle University. Jack Clemens from Virginia Tech rolls off in the 4th spot. Row 3, it is Matthew Morton from Ohio State looking the rebound after last week. Clemson's Drew Williams rolls off in that 6th spot. Row number 4, Miguel Carrera from the University of Houston downtown, and your current points leader, Wingate's Brandon Schulenberger, rolls off 8th. And at the back end of your top 10 here, it's Kansas State's Josh Kampfer and Ryan Whitlock from the University of Alabama, Huntsville.
Starting row 6, we have Brennan Lyman from Oklahoma Panhandle State University, and 2 is outside, Garrett Vighton from Arizona State University. Making up row 7, we have Sean Campbell, last week's winner in historic fashion, from the University of North Carolina, Greensburg, and then 2 is outside, Trey Lambrecht from Texas A&M University, San Antonio. In your 15th position, Michael James from Drexel, and in 16th, Tyler Skozen from the University of Northwestern Ohio. In 17th, it is Aaron Ramon, the 143 machine from Texas A&M International University. 2 is outside, Zachary DeWale from St. Clair. And rounding out your top 20 here tonight, Austin DeLong from Penn College of Technology. 2 is outside, Andrew Burrell from Clemson.
Looking at row number 11, Riley Barkins from New England College. Logan McKim from St. Clair rolls off 22nd. In row 12, it'll be Paul Smith College's Roger Primo and the veteran Ethan Head for the University of Tennessee. Behind them, Jack Wilson rolling off 25th for the University of North Georgia. Madison Ulrich from Otterbein University rolls off in 26th. 27th will be Robbie Hotchkiss from New England College, and Wesley Shaw from Texas A&M Texarkana rolls off in the 28th spot, with Reese Bayham rolling off in the 29th position, and Carter Copini is going to be rounding out your top 30 here today.
In row 16, Lucas Moody from Ball State. 2 is outside, his Ball State teammate Daniel Nanny in 32nd. In row 17, things get interesting here as Kelton Quick, also from Ball State, starts 33rd, and you can see, I think qualifying might have got cut a little early for a lot of these drivers. So starting with Jake Cummings from Converse starts 34th, and everyone on back here is pretty much at the virtue of fate, as Doug Newbigging from King's College and Aaron Brown from Eastern Shore Community College starts 36th. Edward Sanchez from Baruch starts 37th, and 2 is outside, Connor Zabosian from Kettering University. Clint Halterman from UNC Charlotte starts 39th, and Logan Smith from Auburn University starts 40th.
Last couple cars in the field here tonight, to my understanding, Edwin Onofre from North Texas, currently top 5 in the points. Keegan Callick from St. Clair College rolls off 42nd. And Lee Winters from Vincennes is going to round out the 43-car field. Gavin Brooks from Delaware, Logan Harpine of ETSU, Ryan Smith of Auburn, Ethan Decatur of Valparaiso, and Zach Tallman of Penn College Technology, all not going to be in the show here tonight, to my understanding. And it looks like we are getting ready to go trackside here, so we will give a...
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
All 46 drivers will start the race tonight. Just got word here from some of our pre-race stewards, and it looks like qualifying was rained out, quote-unquote, so all 46 drivers will start the race tonight. I don't know, there's 48, but I don't know which. I'm guessing the last 2 are still out, but 46 drivers will be in the field tonight.
Sure. All right. Well, sounds like we've got a full house here tonight for Homestead-Miami Speedway. According to the race control, qualifying got rained out. Curious to see what that means to them. But to us, that means we just have a little bit more time here with our friends of everybody in the field here tonight. I want to give a quick shout out to some of the people who make this series possible, though, while we have a second. One of them being ECAC Esports, adding great value to its member schools by enhancing the competitive experience for hundreds of students seeking to participate in intercollegiate esports. Whiplash SimCams, an iRacing and esports media group specializing in racing and team graphics, iRacing camera packs, and other broadcasting resources. YumTwo. Cooking is better when it's shared. YumTwo is a new couples cooking app that makes meals fun, interactive, and stress-free with personalized recipes, meal planning, and step-by-step cooking guides. YumTwo helps couples bond through food. Join the waitlist now at yumtwo.com. That's YUMTWO.com. And with that, cars taken to the track here, Brad. Just about time to go racing once again in the YumTwo College Cup Series. In tune tonight, if we can get that race analysis, potentially 133 laps. We're going to be going here, 200 miles. 4 sets of tires over the wall, 1 green, white checkered. While we have a second, what are you expecting tonight, Brad?
I think we're going to see a lot of guys try and do what they can on these restarts. I don't think there's going to be too many cautions, but I've said that before. But, you know, a lot of fast drivers and obviously a little more than expected here tonight. So a lot of great racing, I think, is going to come out of this mile-and-a-half track here at Homestead.
Base car makes its way down pit road. Field stacked up, and for the first time here tonight, we are racing under the lights in Miami. Oh, Robbie Hotchkiss sideways on the back straightaway. They were 5 wide coming off of turn 2, and that simply was not going to work. And we are under yellow for the first time here tonight. The 6 of Robbie Hotchkiss, the 21 of Logan Harpine, both collected here in the early going. And that's the nature of having, oh boy, Logan Harpine, that was a big slide. It starts way up there with Aaron Brown, actually, and the 6 goes around. And that's where the 21 gets collected. A little more contact there with Lee Winters and Zach Tallman, but something starts up there with Aaron Brown and Robbie Hotchkiss down from around the 30th spot. And with the nature of qualifying being very shuffled up here tonight, we have some really fast race cars trapped at the back of the field. You see Aaron Brown, Jake Cummings, Daniel Nanny all back there. And I mean, they were legitimately 4 or 5 wide there coming off of 2. There was just no way that was going to work out.
See, I mean, when we were looking back at the turn 2 before everything going on there, it was like the eye of the storm. You could just see everyone was fanning out. Even at the front, I mean, it was still 3 wide race, and yeah, hard like for Logan Harpine. And a couple of cars obviously going to have to get some early damages. I don't think any fatal, but, you know, all of it nonetheless is going to have to bring it down pit road earlier than what anyone here tonight was hoping for. But yeah, once you get further back in the pack, you're looking, you could just see the calamity start as we're riding on board here with, oh, there's the onboard.
Yeah. Here's the onboard with, this is Robbie Hotchkiss, the New England College driver. Yeah, and just back in the traffic. I mean, it was tough because, I mean, I think even there, he looked like he held his line pretty good off of 2, but just ran out of room because everything was stacking up around him. And eventually, you know, when everyone is trying to plug into every available spot of pavement on the track, eventually something's going to go wrong, and I think that's the nature of what happened there. So, already going to put a couple of cars behind the wall. Notably, Logan Harpine already has had some significant damage. That car down pit road trying to get repairs done at the moment. And the car who capitalized the most out of all this, dare I say, is the 31 of Ronan Suarez, who got the jump on the outside of the front row, made his way up there, took the lead. And you see there's some big movers here in the back part of the field who were able to capitalize on both the restart and the caution. Big mover there, Doug Newbinging in the 07, has worked his way up now to the 28th position on the racetrack.
And another thing to note, we didn't necessarily say it on the start, but Logan McKim, and also I don't think Josh Camphor is in the field here tonight, but nonetheless, those two had some EOLs at the beginning of the race, so those two lost all of the qualifying position they had due to some of the strikes they received last week or weeks prior. But right now, like you said, Alex, obviously we only got through 2.5 turns, so now everyone's stacking back up. And, you know, with Ronan Suarez making that outside work, I mean, typically this whole season, pretty much anyone that's been on the pole or, you know, leading the field to the green flag has had a huge advantage. But here at Homestead, like, you know, you have multiple grooves, multiple lines that you can run and make work. You know, I think it's going to be a greater feat to keep that lead off of these restarts, Alex. I don't really think you can be a surefire thing going through 1 and 2.
Yeah, if I'm Ronan Suarez, this is a tall order right now. You got Maverick Davis to the outside. We know he's fast. And then behind him, Matthew Morton, who's led the points for several weeks this season, rolling off on the outside groove. Second row, that's a dangerous place to be. I have a feeling him and the 15 are going to really try to get going here on this restart. So everything now kind of recollected. The field has caught back up. Those couple of cars who came down pit road are starting to rejoin the field. Lights are off on the pace car. So the next time around, we will be racing once again. And, just another one of those races we've seen a couple times this season where, you jump out of the gate, everyone's got that nervous energy, and, now maybe the opportunity to calm it down, collect it a little bit here on the second attempt.
And I think, this season, a lot of these drivers are kind of used to this pacing, especially it seems like at the beginning of the race. And I think, maybe we have another 1 or 2 cautions before we figure out, is everyone going to take it easy, or are we just going to keep trying to let the pace car lead the most laps in the race? So I'm thinking for the most part, I'm hoping that we're back at this mile-and-a-half track. A lot of these guys love racing here, especially the longer stints. So, obviously these guys at the front are going to keep it calm and try to, have some good, maybe 2 wide action at most. But once you get further back in the field, we'll see if that eye of the storm opens back up again.
Well, here we go. The field stacked back up. This top 10 doesn't look all that different. Just a couple of cars in slightly different spots here. Pace car makes its way back down pit lane, and here we go into that restart zone for the second time tonight. Green flag in the air, and Ronan Suarez, Maverick Davis going to lead him down to turn 1.
Ronan Suarez takes away that top lane from Maverick Davis, and now is it clear through 1 and 2. Jack Clemens now is able to get that second position away as well. He's clear up to the top side. The Virginia Tech machine is able to get to the second spot of the podium, and now we have Michael James around. It looks like Tyler Skozen, Zach DeWale.
Whoa, Zach DeWale just slid right through the middle of that, or maybe that was Logan McKim. There was a St. Clair car, I think maybe it was Logan McKim, who absolutely sliced right through the middle of that unharmed. But yeah, that all starts around the 99 of Michael James, and he was not the only one involved.
We're looking back here, St. Clair, Michael James, I don't know if he came down into the 519 or 519 wasn't expecting him to be as low. Jake Cummings and everyone else just trying to get through. Lee Winters all gets through. Tyler Skozen closes that gap just enough for the 37 to get some left rear damage. But for all things considered, I think we saw Zachary DeWale might be done at least a little bit for the day. I think he put that back to the back to pit road, and it looks like he has also assessed the penalty along with it. So all things considered right now, St. Clair's Zach DeWale, we haven't seen him much this season, and obviously here at Homestead, not the ideal start for the 519.
No, not in the slightest. And I think that was one of those situations it's one of those restarts. Everyone's trying to get some track position, and I'm willing to bet $1 or $2 that the 519 at DeWale was expecting Michael James to move up a little more toward the wall. But with how many cars there are and how much things got kind of compacted coming off of turn 2, I think James saw there was cars to his outside. He kind of stayed planted in the middle, and that little bit of a miscommunication, you could say, between the two is all it takes to have an incident like that occur, and it collected them and a couple other cars in the process. And that's a little bit of what happened in the first caution as well tonight. Just a lot of cars, not a lot of real estate, and sometimes you have those moments where you think someone's going to be clear, but they're not. And things happen so fast, especially here at Homestead. You don't have a ton of time to react.
And obviously with, only having 2 cautions. Last week at Road Atlanta, as surprising as it was, we had 2 opening cautions to the race. And after that, it was green flag running. We were expecting pretty much all green flag running, though, last week at Road Atlanta. Yellow flags are very hard to come by when it comes to a road course, especially as big as Road Atlanta. But here tonight, obviously with these opening laps having some more cautions, I think that, obviously the only person that has benefited right now, not too many people have benefited from it, but Jack Clemens back now to the second position. He's climbed his way up to that front row, and he's going to line up right alongside with Ronan Suarez. Maverick Davis, Matthew Morton, 2 fast cars there in the second row. You can see some more people on the right side, some more drivers that have been climbing their way up through the field, led by Doug Newbigging, who's about 10 positions up right now, along with Logan Smith. Those two have been making their way through the field, and Keegan Cowlick. So a lot of these drivers obviously benefiting from these cautions, but at the same time, as I think I saw in the chat, green is a much prettier color when it comes to racing.
Yeah, it certainly is. And it's one of those times where, it's just kind of a nature of the beast, especially with oval racing. Sometimes you have those moments where it's just hard to find your little bit of real estate out there. And that's been the theme of the opening couple laps so far. When we take the green flag again, it'll be lap 10 of 133. Suarez and Clemens, your front row. Davis and Morton, row 2. Williams and Ferretta in that third row. Schulenberger and Viton. Whitlock and Carrera make up your top 10 as the lights are off on the pace car. Back down pit lane, it will go once again. It's certainly getting its reps in early. Green flag is going to be back in the air, and here we go once again, racing at Homestead-Miami.
It looks like both of those cars got a huge jump off the front, but right now Ronan Suarez is able to jump out to the outside, and Maverick Davis looking to the inside. 3 wide for the lead after the restart.
And Suarez is going to hold on to it just for a moment, side by side behind him, as they go racing into turn 3 for the first time here tonight. Maverick Davis holds on to second, but it's going to be Ronan Suarez with the advantage off of 4, leading the first green flag lap of the night. And Lucas Moody is around on the front straightaway, the 13 from Ball State. Sideways coming across the start-finish line. That was Lucas Moody in the 13 who was sideways across the stripe. And that is going to bring out our third caution of the night.
Taking a look back here through 3 and 4, you can see Clint Halterman looks to get to the inside of the 13. He saves it for a moment, but one of the front runners here in the points, Edwin Onofre, gets into the back of the 13. Lucas Moody is unfortunately going to have to spin that car around. Not too much damage for the Ball State machine, but obviously want to face the right direction at all times. So he's going to have to file back in line at the back of the field and try to avoid. It looks like that might have been Logan McKim also send it back to pit road if I saw that car for the right car for the,
yeah, he does have the black and orange meatball flag at the moment. So looks like Logan McKim, some healthy damage on the 10 as well.
Oh,
looks like, yeah, he just got a gnarly piece of the wall there off of 4. And
separate incident.
Boy, yeah, that's one of those moves that, you could make it, but this early in the race, the question's really if you should make it. McKim goes 4 wide there, takes a peek to the inside of Copini. Just did not work out. But we are going to step aside to our first commercial break of the evening. When we return, continued coverage of tonight's event from Homestead-Miami here in the YumTwo College Cup Series. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a moment.
When you're behind the wheel, you need precision, timing, and teamwork. Racing isn't a solo sport. You need your pit crew and your driver. Neither is cooking. That's why we built YumTwo. YumTwo is your cooking co-driver that lets you cook and find recipes that you'll both like with whatever preferences you have. No matter how hard or how easy it is to find recipes, we'll always have a recipe for you to pick. We're sponsoring the College Cup Series this season, but off the track, we want to sponsor your dinner. Get on the grid before launch and join the waitlist now at YumTwo.com.
All right, folks, welcome back here. The YumTwo College Cup Series live on Monday nights here on the CIL YouTube. If you're joining us late, I'm Alex Gagnon. Brad Daniels alongside me in the booth. Lee Kane producing the show here tonight. 14 laps gone. We'll be going green next time around. And it has been a caution-filled affair so far, Brad. It has been tough to really get this thing underway.
Yeah, and, the front, pretty much no one at the front has really changed hands. Everyone's staying within the top 10. You can see a lot of people on the right side of your screen are benefiting from all these cautions, including Zach Tallman, Logan Smith, Keegan Kallick, Ryan Smith, who I don't think we've seen so far this season, and Jake Cummings. All of those guys just finding their way through these wrecks and making it worth it. But right now, these two on the front row seem very consistently, at least in the top three. We have Maverick Davis on the outside of Ronan Suarez. Ronan Suarez is going to bring the field here to the green flag. Pace car down pit road. Field is stacked up yet again to try and make it work here going into turn one. And green flag is out and away. It's Ronan Suarez takes a huge jump.
Here we go in the one. Drew Williams taking a peek to the outside of Maverick Davis for second. Davis is going to get up the wall to block. It opens the door to the inside, though, for Jack Clemens, who gets right in there. Oh, boy, that was getting a little tight off of two. They made it work, though. Suarez, defensive line into three. And Davis and Williams basically nose to tail, flew down the back straightaway. They are not going to let the 31 get away easily here as they make their way down to the start-finish line.
I was going to say, through 1 and 2, those guys were using every inch they could up to the wall. I think they might have got into it a little bit, but that set them up for a huge backstretch. And we're looking back for the battle for fifth now, as it's Brandon Schollenberger and Jack Clemens. Virginia Tech is facing off against Wingate, as those two are trying to face each other and see what is going to happen here. The 17 is able to jump up in front of the 7 machine, and now we're looking a little further on back. We have Brian Ferwetta, Ryan Whitlock, and a bunch of others here battling all for about 6 on back, 2 by 2 by 2. You can see Brennan Linen, Sean Campbell, and a couple of others stuck on that inside line right now. Doug Newbinging is pretty much the last car in this battle for 6. And anywhere you look right now, you can pretty much pick a battle as Ryan Whitlock's able to get in front of the 248 machine of Brian Ferwetta from Embry-Riddle.
And here they go, absolutely roaring down this back straightaway. Oh, someone's sideways. Kelton Quick in the 2 car, spinning down the back straightaway. He collects the 8 of Ethan Head. And Kelton Quick slides to a stop here just at the entrance to turn 3. Brings out caution number 4 this evening. Take a look here. Kelton Quick to the inside of Andrew Burl in the 1 and 2. And down the back straightaway is where things get unhinged. 2 of them actually make a little bit of contact through the middle of the corner as he works his way up to the wall. I don't think he knew that Edward Sanchez was there.
That was, they were leaning on each other through 1 and 2, but yeah, it looked like Kelton Quick didn't maybe not have gotten a call or something, trying to maybe get up to that wall, and obviously that shiny 2 car is now a little bit in shambles. Is right now, if you're Ball State, outside of Daniel Nanny, pretty much everyone is doing a good job. Is that Michael James backwards? I think.
Yeah, Michael James backwards on pit road. That.
I think that was practice. That might not have been. Or is that right now? Wait. Oh no. Okay.
We're having a couple technical difficulties we're patching through at the moment, so just bear with us for a second. Kelton Quick, though, the latest in a long line already tonight, Brad, of cars who have had some issues. We started this with, I think, 46 or so. We're only already down to about 32 cars in the lead lap. It has been, the field is thinning out in a hurry.
Yeah, and I think the one consistent, you see Kelton Quick just gets absolutely wrapped around the front of the 26. Has to send it backwards. Ethan Head, just an innocent bystander trying to just get through. But, it seems like all of these cautions so far have been anyone that really isn't running that higher lane. I think the higher lane here is obviously the safer choice for both speed and your tires. And I think if you're taking that lower lane, obviously you're going down the line that not a lot of people are running, but at the same time, you're going to get a little more loose coming out of the corner. You're going to wear those tires a little bit more with each passing lap, and each time you run that lower lane, I think you get a little more and more desperate to try and get up in front of the car up top. Even if you're 3 wide, you're just trying to find somewhere to get in line. And, you know, it's not like it's a draft thing either here at Homestead. It's more just, you know, trying to set yourself up for these corners and run the best line that you can. I know when I ran here in Homestead in the CIL that I love this top lane. It was my pride and joy, and anytime I had to go lower than the top lane, I felt like I might explode. So, you know, that was just personal preference for me. But, you know, at the same time, a lot of these drivers coming out of turns 2, or really 2 and 4, just having to use that bottom lane and trying not to just get into someone coming out of it.
And you know, you mentioned your background here with CIL at Homestead. When I was a driver in this league, I ran Homestead exactly once in the years that I ran it. Was the best I had ever qualified in this league. I had qualified like 12th. And then on cold tires, I immediately binned it in turn 1 of the first lap, and then DNF'd because I was so embarrassed. So that was a really tough start. And, you know, I know that what they're doing out there is not the easiest thing in the world, but certainly it's been a tough sledding here for the field to really find any sort of consistency, as our longest run of the day has been about a lap and a half to this point. So when we go green, it'll be lap 21 of 133. Ronan Suarez, Maverick Davis continue to lead the way over Drew Williams, Matthew Morton, Jack Clemens, Brandon Schulenberger, Ryan Whitlock, Brian Ferwetta, Garrett Vighton, and Miguel Carrera is your top 10. Couple of big movers, though, to keep an eye on, maybe just outside of that. The biggest, of course, Doug Newbinging, up from 35th to 15th. Also, Aaron Ramon, 17th to 11th. Both of them on the move as the pace car is going to peel off down pit road. Green flag in the air. Big jump for Ronan Suarez, the 31. Going to take control at the front of the field. And here goes Drew Williams to the inside of Davis for second.
And now potentially trying to take Santa Monica as well. Ronan Suarez is there 3 wide for third place. Matthew Morton in the middle of a Virginia Tech Kettering sandwich, but it looks like Andrew Williams is able to file into second. This battle for third, though, still ongoing. Jack Clemens might back out for the moment, but still peeks to the inside as Matthew Morton's able to pull. And, the 17 slides up ever so slightly, but able to stay behind the 5. And it looks like Matthew Morton is going to be able to take the third position for now. And at least across the stripe, you can see, again, 2 by 2 by 2 is pretty much the entire field just trying to file back into some sort of semblance. You can see right now Matthew Morton looking to the inside of Maverick Davis for that third position. Is going to be able to clear him a little bit as Ryan Whitlock, and I can't, back there, somebody's around.
Yep, someone spinning at the back end of the field here. Keegan Calick in the 29 for St. Clair College comes to a stop sideways on the back straightaway. The 71 of Zach Tallman was also around coming off of turn 2. And that is going to bring up the good old caution counter to number 5 here tonight. Turn 2 has been treacherous. It has been the result of, I think, at least 3, maybe 4 of these 5 cautions tonight. And boy, Roger Primo who was having some issues, which kind of stacked some of the field up high. But Keegan Calick is officially what brought out the caution. His spin, and then Zach Tallman gets collected as well. So, you know, that was a 2-car incident that probably could have been a lot worse. You see Roger Primo really lost the handle on the car, slid up through the field. And as Calick goes around, the 2 of them, actually it's Primo and Tallman who end up connecting there. And that's how the 71 goes for a bit of a ride.
You know, they never say there's winter in Homestead, but it might feel like a lot of these drivers are on ice because it just, you get loose here and you try to collect the car. Especially these next gens are just hard to handle whenever they come out from under you. And especially you can see it here in Homestead that a lot of these drivers are going to have to try and face it as really we only I thought Ronan Suarez was going to be the only taker, but fakes us all out, gets back on track. So not a lot of takers obviously going down pit road.
I almost wonder for Ronan Suarez if that was a legitimate thought of coming down pit road, and then he saw that literally nobody was going to join him, and then at the last second stayed out. Because, I mean, he looked like he was really hard selling coming down pit road to the point where I wonder if that was an audible. But we'll take a seat. We'll see if we can do a quick replay here of Ronan Suarez and see how aggressive this commitment was. So yeah, he gets down there. And then, yeah, pretty hard back onto the wheel there to get back over. And we've got ourselves a really interesting race developing here, Brad. When one of the big talking points in the opening 25 laps is Ronan Suarez maybe coming down pit road.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't hit the barrels, I think that should speak volumes right now. And you know, we got 133 laps, just got under 110 to go here for the night. Still early, obviously, when it comes to time, and still early when it comes to proportion of the race. But a lot of these drivers have some sort, you know, the tires are not freshly fresh. They still have that nice grip on them, and you know, none of them are going to be, you know, going down pit road, I think, anytime soon if there's more cautions on the way. But you know, nonetheless, a lot of these drivers, and I think one to note is that Clemson machine on the outside row, he has been very good on these restarts. It seems like he is willing to push the envelope. Drew Williams, someone who I think has dropped in and out of the forefront this season, someone we've seen up front consistently, but then other times have dropped back out. And you know, I think tonight, obviously, these aggressive restarts are showing that the 123 is ready to keep pushing and try to get a win here tonight in the YumTwo College Cup Series.
Now the lights are off on the pace car, which means we're going to be trying it again here as we stand. Looks like to be about 35 cars who are currently on the lead lap, several of which who have already taken a bit of damage here tonight. A number of cars already fully out of tonight's event. Drew Williams, for the first time tonight, will be restarting on this front row. Curious to see if he can find an answer here from that outside spot that Maverick Davis was unable to on these couple of restarts where he lined up against Suarez. Matt Morton rolls off with Davis in that second row. Clemens and Schulenberger, that third row is the pace car, makes the dip back down pit lane. Here we go once again. Green flag racing at Homestead as they streak off 2 by 2, the better part of 20 rows deep.
You can see Drew is just absolutely blocking the heck out of the OSU machine down on the apron as they go in the one. Still side by side for first, but that's not going to last long as Ronan Suarez is going to get a great launch. And a couple people in the wall. They're coming out of one. Suarez dips down on the line trying to break the draft a little bit, but the battles for second still ongoing as Matthew Morton's on the back bumper of Drew Williams. And we're looking through the top 5 now here, all single file for the most part. Ryan Whitlock is going to try to do something with the run he has on that top lane, looking to the inside of Jack Clemens. Whitlock is going to take that lower line and still has the corner panel, but Clemens right now, the only guy up top, as you see a little more action further on back.
Yeah, a little 2-3 wide further on back here. That's Brian Ferwetta to the inside of Garrett Vighton. This is that battle for the 8th position. Sean Campbell in the mix as well. Here comes Doug Newbinging. Talk about a guy who has been capitalizing on these restarts. Doug Newbinging, the King's College machine, up 23 positions from 35th all the way up now to just knocking outside the top 10. So he takes a peek here to Sean Campbell. And that 9 machine for UNC Greensboro up toward the wall. Little 2x2 as Ferwetta closes off the door for Newbinging. And we've got ourselves a nice little battle happening here right at the tail end of the top 10.
You can keep seeing that cloud of smoke on that outside line as everyone's getting slightly into the wall. Not enough to be, you know, a rock in the middle of the road, but still nonetheless. Some people scraping the wall, leaving some stripes as Sean Campbell's just wrapping the outside outside of the Embry-Riddle machine, able to take that 9th spot away for the 9 car, and now looking to the back bumper of Garrett Vighton as we have Doug Newbinging looking to the inside of Aaron Ramon right now. As he's knocking on the door of 10th position, he's going to roar up there to the inside of Brian Ferwetta, and he's now going to get back in line. As you see, it looks like there's a battle for 5th right now between Brandon Schulenberger, Jack Clemens. They're trying to figure it out through 3 and 4.
That they are. Clemens down on the apron. Schulenberger not giving him any room in that middle lane. The points leader at the moment trying to dig on the outside to work his way up the 5th. Going to have that spot right now over the 17. The Hokie is going to have to settle back in the 6th. It's Virginia Tech now back up toward that high side. Schulenberger settling in. All right, now in 5th. He's got Whitlock there in 7th just behind him. And now Sean Campbell taking a peek out to the inside of Garrett Vighton just behind him in 9th. Here goes the 9 car to the inside. Last week's winner trying to prove he can win on not just the road courses but the ovals as well as he continues to work his way up toward the front of the field.
Sean Campbell, we definitely know.
Oh, someone's spinning onto pit road. Keegan Calick has hit the pit barrels.
Oh, no.
The 29 has hammered the pit lane barrels and has brought out the caution for the 6th time here tonight. Take a look at this. The 29, the front end of this car, just loses it coming off of 4. Bam!
That car is done for the night. I mean, you can see it's trying to do a jig down the front stretch here, but obviously Keegan Cowlick did not. Those barrels are much softer in real life. It was almost like he hit an absolute mountain, and the tire is trying to get going here. But the St. Clair machine looks like it is done for the night, along with Zach DeWale. I mean, right now, if you're St. Clair, you're not having the greatest night here in Florida.
No, certainly not. It has been a tough time. You're a St. Clair College driver. We've seen Logan McKim, Zach DeWale, and Keegan Cowlick all having a tough time here. So we're going to take a quick step aside here for a quick commercial break. When we come back, continued coverage of tonight's event from Homestead. It's they're starting to get things rolling here, so we'll be back in just a second when they do.
When you're behind the wheel, you need precision, timing, and teamwork. Racing isn't a solo sport. You need your pit crew and your driver. Neither is cooking. That's why we built YumTwo. YumTwo is your cooking co-driver that lets you cook and find recipes that you'll both like with whatever preferences you have. No matter how hard or how easy it is to find recipes, we'll always have a recipe for you to pick. We're sponsoring the College Cup Series this season, but off the track, we want to sponsor your dinner. Get on the grid before launch and join the waitlist now at YumTwo.com.
America. From trucks and trains to tractors and excavators, and the need for skilled technicians is exploding.
The opportunities in the diesel world are endless. Here is everything that you'll ever need to succeed.
At the University of Northwestern Ohio, you'll train on real engines, real rigs, and real industry tools, preparing you for careers in transportation, construction, agriculture, and beyond. Apply now at unoh.edu.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Sandown is definitely better than this 200 at Homestead-Miami Speedway. Here tonight, just under 100 laps to go here in the YumTwo College Cup Series, and we have a little bit of a shakeup at the front after you see Ronan Suarez takes a early pit stop comparative to the field. Now going to set himself back further in the pack, but that's going to leave Drew Williams and Maverick Davis to line up on your front row as you see everyone getting stacked back up, ready to get restarted yet again here tonight.
Yeah, here we go. Next time, Bobby, lap 35 when they take the green. Drew Williams, Maverick Davis up front. And with Ronan Suarez now not pacing the field up front, curious to see who's going to jump out and try to grab the advantage. We've seen both of these cars not quite have the launch on that outside lane that we'd probably like to see them have, which makes me think that Drew Williams will probably have the edge here going in the one, but we'll find out as the pace car drifts that bad boy back down pit lane. Green flags back in the air, and Drew Williams going to get a great launch. Schulenberger just behind him, flies in there. He might be alongside him in the turn one. Now, boy, the 7 got a great launch there. He's firmly into second.
And he did a great job on that restart, gets him firmly in the second. I thought Maverick Davis was going to have a run coming out of turn 2, but that's not the case. Everyone top 5 fouls it out as Doug Newbigging is now back, trying to finish or get into that 6th position, continue his charge from 35th, and maybe climb 30 laps and almost 35 laps. As you see everyone filing out. Here's
Matthew Morton sideways in 3 and 4. Robbie Hotchkiss is around as well. Same with Roger Primo in the 88. But Matthew Morton and that 5 machine for Ohio State sideways, I believe he was one of those cars who also came down pit road just a moment ago with Ronan Suarez. And an early exit last week for Matthew Morton dropped him out of the lead in the points, and now some more potential issues here today. Despite the fact that he's got multiple wins this season, he's also had some bad luck as well over the past couple weeks. We can take a look here. He's in the middle of this 3 wide. He's got Zabosian up high, Hodgkiss down low. And yeah, the 6 just comes off the apron a little bit there. The 5 was right next to him, and just the both of them, and going to end up losing it. Roger Primo, a hard hit into the outside wall as well.
And that's the sacrifice you take. Obviously, with that track position, you send yourself to the back. And, you know, a lot of these drivers, too, back here may still be on those older tires. So, you know, if you're the faster driver, and also with those faster tires, you're just doing a lot more than what you think you're doing with these, you know, everyone else going on. You can see a couple of drivers coming down pit road, but pretty much everyone that stayed out last time by is staying out yet again. Nothing too much to worry about up at the front. And, you know, Drew Williams, somebody, you know, we haven't seen lead too much of this season so far. I think, you know, we haven't been to a mile and a half in a minute. And I think Drew is happy to see that yet again. Obviously, being in first, you know, I think that's probably an underestimate of what I'm saying there. But nonetheless, I think the 123 is happy to see we're here in Homestead. And along with that, Brandon Schollenberger, your points leader coming into tonight, he's doing a great job of representing that top of the leaderboard. As, you know, a lot of these other drivers who are up there further in the standings might not be currently up in the top 10. I mean, Sean Campbell, we've talked about a little bit here today. Jake Cummings also in the top 10. But outside of that, a lot of those others who might, you know, stay in the top 10 for now are just trying to battle their way through the field. And we saw for Matthew Morton, that might be a taller task than just simply passing some people.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Well, while we are still under yellow here, figure I'll float this question out to the folks at home. I want to thank y'all for tuning in if you're watching at the moment. And, you know, we're getting close to Halloween. So for the folks at home, if you want to drop in the chat, what are your Halloween plans for this year? I'm curious to hear what you all have going on in your lives, and I'm hoping y'all are having a good night hanging here with us on a little Monday evening jaunt through Homestead as we're getting closer and closer to the precipice of spooky season, as it are. So, Brad, what are you doing for Halloween this year? Anything fun?
Hosting a Halloween party the day after Halloween, but the day of, for trick or treat, I'm dressing up in an inflatable T-Rex costume and trying to not terrorize kids, but at the same time just stand in my driveway and act like, you know, one of those inflatables until a kid gets too close, and then I just, you know, start. That's the plan, at least. We'll see how good that goes.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. That is honestly should be fun. And something I wish I would get to witness in person. That is for sure. But yeah, so for the folks at home, if you have anything fun going on for Halloween here in about a week and a half, feel free to drop it in chat as we are getting ready to go racing once again. Pace car is going to peel off down pit road. Got Drew Williams and Brandon Schollenberger ready to lead them back into turn 1. Green flags in the air. And once again, that inside lane is getting a fantastic jump. Maverick Davis gets the launch. He gets up to second in front of Schollenberger. Whitlock and Viton side by side for fourth.
It seems like whenever Drew's leading that inside line, the second car in line gets a huge jump and is able to just, you know, clear themselves, as obviously Maverick Davis has done so himself. But looking back at this battle for fourth now, Ryan Whitlock alongside of not Brandon Schollenberger, that is Garrett Viton, and it looks like 3 wide between Jake Cummings, Sean Campbell, and Doug Newbigging as they're cautioned yet again.
Yeah, Jack Wilson sideways in 3 and 4. He got a piece of Brennan Lyman in the process. Take a look at this. You see Jack Wilson just starting to get going here. It was the 925.
Oh no, is that?
All right, just checking now. Are we good now there, producer Lee? All right. Let us know. Let us know in chat, folks, if the audio is back.
Spooky season's hitting early on.
Yeah, spooky season's
everyone
hitting. I
involved.
think a ghost just started messing with producer Lee's settings. But yeah, let us know, folks, if the audio is back, because I think we hit. I think people may have missed my fun joke as well about Brad terrifying. That's all right. Moments passed. So, oh, all right. All right, sounds like audio's back. Thank you for letting us know. Sorry about that. Thank you for letting us know, though, because that's a tough break. I think the ghosts are coming out here a little bit early. Someone accidentally toggled off the desktop audio, which I don't know if that's something I've ever come across. That is that is some specters at work, or maybe it's just whatever happened with AWS today with that entire system crapping out. Also, we're getting to really get a sense of what's going on in the mind of the drivers here tonight, Brad. Aaron Brown in the driver chat is dropping what I can only describe as dad jokes. He got the why did the Scarecrow get a promotion? Because he was outstanding in his field. So, anyway, we are racing once again. It's Drew Williams, Maverick Davis, Brandon Schulenberger going to lead the run into turn one. A little side-by-side action here between a couple guys in the top 10 in points. That's Schulenberger on the bottom, Maverick Davis up high, battling for second as they come roaring 2, 3, even maybe 4 wide off of turn 2. Man, they are still going after it.
And, these restarts prompt more restarts, but at the same time, it's a great time to get a lot of positions if you can. And I think there's a couple drivers you can see right there. Doug Newbigging trying to break into the top 5 now on the outside of Sean Campbell. He's started his way in 35th, now gonna potentially be in 5th position. And you can see on the right side of your screen a ton of people. Getting headlong. Oh my lord!
Whoa! Horrible crash into turn 2. I think
around.
that might have been netcode, but boy, oh boy, did they all 55 just snap around coming off of turn 2. Take a look at this. I don't even know if Newbigging touched him. Oh, no, the 055 just got loose. Wow. Vighton got loose, and then a little bit of extra contact there from the 07 when he was already a little sideways. Boy, that was a violent crash on the onboard there for Garrett Vighton. And that was running up in the top 5, so there was a lot of cars behind him who just had nowhere to go.
I was going to say, I think that's the first caution inside of the top half of the field, and obviously I think it's the biggest one of tonight. That was a huge, I don't know if it was an overcorrection, what exactly happened with the ASU machine, but just headlong into the outside wall, sending that car to meet its maker, and unfortunately going to end Garrett's night. And, for a lot of these drivers, it's been we're going to probably talk about it in the post-race with a lot of the interviews, but endurance is probably going to be the biggest thing for a lot of these drivers. And, if you're at the front of the field, you haven't had to face much yet, especially if you're Drew Williams, Maverick Davis, Brandon Schoenberg, or anyone else that we've been continuously covering here on the restarts. But nonetheless, if you're in the middle of this field, you're having maybe some minor panic attacks with some of these cautions. You see Brian Ferretta, I think, got involved a little bit in that caution. Is going to lead these drivers down pit road. He's going to give up
we've
that
got a...
position.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, we do have a couple cars coming down pit road here, probably about 10, 12 or so, who are all making their stops. Starting to see a little bit of a cycle here through these stops. The top 7 have yet to come down pit road. But yeah, no, I didn't mean the stoppage. We have quite a few guys who decided to use this as an opportunity to fuel up, gas up, and the estimated fuel window tonight, Brad, was about what would you say, about 65, 70 laps-ish, give or take?
Yeah, yep. I mean, somewhere around that 70 lap mark. A lot of these guys, obviously with the cautions, still saving fuel, so that's gonna raise the roof a little bit on that gap on the limit for their mileage here tonight. But nonetheless, I mean, these guys, if it's gonna stay yellow, obviously they're gonna have to come down pit road eventually, but they can keep going. I mean, these tires aren't gonna be that worn. they're still going to be able to keep up with those fresh tires for the most part. And I think really the only time they're not going to be able to is per se if they're trying to use that bottom side of the track. Obviously, we've seen it time and time again where pretty much if you go anywhere outside or under that line, you could see that's like about halfway down the track. It seems like a lot of these cars get a little squirrely and end up into other cars. So, you know, that might be where people are trying to learn and try to keep it above that line, maybe keep it a little more safe and keep the rear end under them. But for now, the pace lights are back off. You can see Brian Ferwetta trying to stay on the lead lap while trying to get some damages repaired. But leading yet again here is Drew Williams, Maverick Davis on that front row, Brandon Schollenberger, Sean Campbell in that second row. You got Jake Cummings and Logan Smith. Talk about two people who are charging through the field with Edward Sanchez. Those three started 34th, 40th, and 37th, and now made their way up to the top 7. And behind them, Aaron Ramon, Trey Lambrecht, and Riley Birkins make up your top 10. Connor Zabozian also started 38th up to the 11th position. And Ryan Smith, who started 46th, which is going to be a very, I don't know the last time we've had more than 43 cars qualify for a YumTwo College Cup Series race. But the 46, the 82 machine that started in 46 is now up to 13th for Auburn.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. And technically we had more than this for the Clash this year, but that was not a points-paying race, which is part of the reason why tonight has, I think, been as chaotic as it has. You know, just a lot of cars out there fighting for space. But here we go once again. Green flag is going to go back in the air. We're on to lap 48 here at Homestead-Miami. Drew Williams, Brandon Schollenberger, Maverick Davis still up at the point. They got some new challengers, though. Jake Cummings and Sean Campbell. They're rounding out the top 5. They're going to battle for 4th here. Cummings muscles his way into that spot as, Riley Perkins getting basically just shunted down the back straightaway here. I think that's Aaron Brown who got trapped behind him. More cars spinning here in the turn 3. That was Edwin Onofre who's around. And this has just turned into one of those kind of nights, Brad.
Yeah, cautions breed cautions. You could see, I think Riley Birkins knew, I believe, Aaron Ramon was up there, but or was that Aaron Brown? Sorry. Aaron Brown was up there, but nonetheless, you know, was that Ramon? Well, nonetheless, I think Riley Birkins might have got way too close maybe to that, or maybe he thought he had a little more room than he did, and obviously that ends up being our 9th caution of the race, if I am correct. So, nonetheless, Alex, you know, we're gonna be here nonetheless, trying to get through this thing not on time, because I don't think anyone wants to see another time stoppage of the race.
Yeah, I don't think so either, but. So, you know, we're chugging along here. Next time around will be lap 50, but, you know, another opportunity to float some conversation out with the lovely folks in chat who are hanging out with us here tonight. I guess I'll phrase it this way. You know, last time around I posed a question to you all. This time around, how about you toss some questions up to, you know, myself, Brad, or producer Lee. Whatever's on your mind, feel free to drop it in chat, and, you know, if it's something fun, we'll yap about it. Or if you have any questions, feel free to drop them. At this point, you know, while we're under yellow, you know, you kind of get the sense of what's going on during the race. May as well just, or if there's any drivers you want to get an onboard of, you know, during like the next restart or something, let me know, and we can make that work. So feel free. If there's anyone you want to, you know, take a look at here on this restart, you see Brennan Lyman going to get the free pass, get back on the lead lap here on that 78 machine. And curious to see if there's any takers for pit road this time around. I'd be a little surprised if there were, given we had a pretty decent group go last time. But, you know, every time I guess on fuel strategy, I'm always incorrect, so...
I mean, and nonetheless, I think this time we should be double filing it up, and it looks like we might get a request here for an onboard with one of the Auburn drivers. I know they're pretty much throughout the field here tonight.
We could jump up with, Logan Smith's riding up here in 6th. He's having a great day. He's up from outside the top 30. in the 6. So on this next restart, we could absolutely jump on board with Logan Smith when they go green. It'll be about another lap or so, I believe. But, you know, when it comes time, we'll take a look-see. Got a very, very passionate Auburn fan in the chat here tonight. And they're having an up and down day, I would say. Logan Smith's putting together a great run. The 82 of Ryan Smith in his first start here has put together a pretty solid run under the radar. Started at the back of the field. He's up inside the top 20. And Reese Bayham, we know he's fast. He has some damage, though, earlier in this race, trying to kind of rebound here. Currently scored in the 28th position. Lights are off on the pace car. And this time on the restart, we'll be on board with the 34 of Logan Smith, currently 6th, 3rd in this outside lane. Should be fun to see what the drivers are seeing from the onboard here, especially on these restarts. Because we're a couple rows deep, you'll see how quickly these guys are going to fan out.
Green flag is out, and it is down and away, and we will let you see what Logan Smith sees through turn 1.
All right, now what he's seeing is a window full of Aaron Ramon. Texas A&M International driver got to his outside off a 2. Really made that a battle down the back straightaway. Here they go off of 4. Is the 143 still going to be there? I think he might be. Yeah, there he is. Nice little side-by-side battle. And you can see how quickly things can change here from this angle. From where the driver is sitting, a lot of this is relying on the spotter to know where that car is. You see Ramon goes clear, and Smith can't get up to the wall yet because now Edward Sanchez filled the space. Now the 34 gets up there.
And with that, you know, inside line, obviously you get the advantage in the middle of the turn, but these guys just get such a momentum boost coming down the front and back stretch. You can see Edward Sanchez just does a good, clear job as he's coming out of 4 to stop the momentum of Aaron Ramon. And now Logan Smith is going to look back to the inside of Aaron Ramon. You know, these guys just have an everlasting battle. Edward Sanchez has been making quick work right now of these guys, but he's going to roar on by Logan Smith. Aaron Ramon is going to power on through as well. And that's the disadvantage with that bottom row. You don't get any sort of draft help. It's not going to be that powerful, but at the same time, anything helps when it comes to these next gens. And right now, you can see Logan Smith is going to have to give up that 7th position to Aaron Ramon, and now settles back into 8th, where Connor Zabosian is now looking at the plate. But also behind them, Austin DeLong, Clint Halterman, a battle between 2 alumni hanging on here for the top 10 position. You see Clint Halterman on the inside trying to clear, and he's going to do all of that coming down the backstretch. And now everyone pretty much single foul. I think Sean Campbell might be battling it out for the 5th position, or 4th position with Brandon Schollenberger.
Yeah, nice little battle here. A lot of cars trading positions in this group. You see Matt Morton working his way back onto the scene, recovering from that earlier tangle with Robbie Hodgkiss. The 5 now up to 12th. Logan Smith up to the fence. He's got Clint Halterman all the way down on the racetrack on the inside as they make their way off at 2. Side by side, that continues to be as this field starts to string out just a little bit. And we are seeing some of your questions and ride-along suggestions here in the chat. We will cover them throughout the evening here, so don't you worry. We will jump to them at the next time it makes sense. But right now, we've got ourselves a little bit of action here on the racetrack as Zabosian going to take a dive to the inside.
Kettering is going to try and look to the inside of UNC Charlotte. I mean, these two, we've seen them a lot this season, but especially for Clint Halterman, we talked about the ups and the downs for the UNC Charlotte machine, and for now he's just settling into this just inside the top 10. You can see everyone pretty much picking a line, either ultra low or ultra high, trying to run right against the wall or right against the apron. And you can see that Clint Halterman's going to have to file back onto that outside line going down the backstretch here, and he's going to dive it back in here going into 1 and 2, trying to look to the inside of Auburn's Logan Smith, but that is just not going to do it. He's going to stay side by side, but the 34 is going to go roaring down the backstretch, going to have a little bit of draft support as well. And now everyone back to single file, and then yet again going into turn 3. Just pick a line, whichever one you want.
A nice little back and forth here just at the back end of the top 10. Aaron Ramon going to be ahead of this battle side by side. Halterman not going to be able to make that pass over Logan Smith. He'll settle back into that 9th position as they run. Doug Newbinging, Ronan Suarez side by side for 14th, just a little further on back. Both of these cars have been some story. Oh, whoa, the leaders tangle. Drew Williams and Maverick Davis, first and second, sideways down the back straightaway. What on earth happened there?
Oh my gosh. Well, I wasn't expecting that, but I mean, those older tires, I don't know. Okay, so we're going to take a look back here with the UNOH replay. You can see these two, they were single file for the most part, but you can see a little bit of a wiggle from the 123 is going to send both of them, surprisingly, to the inside wall. Maverick Davis hard into the inside wall along with Drew Williams. Both of them, some major damage on, well, either side of the car. We're going to look back here with Kettering's Maverick Davis right on board. You can see these two were battling going in the 1 and 2, and you know, hanging on that outside corner panel, not doing too aggressive of a move there. You know, they fouled it out, and it looks like the 123 just, you see that wiggle, and that's all it, you know, these next gens will just take off with any sort of manner, and that is just what happened to the Clemson machine, and along with Kettering, unfortunately. Those two, obviously, two of the fastest cars here tonight, and unfortunately going to have to send it down pit road to get some repairs, and major ones of that.
Yeah, so heavy damage there. Probably for the 15. With this now being 60 laps for anyone who has not come down pit road yet, this feels like the time for everyone to come down pit road. A lot of takers here for pit road, and this is big because with the amount of cautions we've had, pitting here just might be able to stretch you to the end of this race. So a lot of cars seeing the opportunity now to get tuned up, maybe get some damage repaired, and we'll probably see a big shuffle in the running order here, as I think about 2/3 of the field have come down pit road. See Maverick Davis on that long drive back down to the #1 pit stall, trying to get some stuff repaired. And on that race off pit road, Edward Sanchez, first one down and away. Tell you what, that's a driver who's really rallied from some early damage, is Edward Sanchez. He has put himself in a great position here. He was running in the top 10 despite that earlier damage, and now, when this cycles through, he'll be the first car on fresh tires.
I'm talking about those who did not take any, well, not any tires, but did not come down pit road that time by. Jake Cummings going to lead that group. You can see Sean Campbell and Aaron Ramon are going to be your top 3 at the moment. Jake Cummings starting 34th today, made his way up to first now, obviously by the virtue of some pit strategy, but you know, a lot of these cars that are further on back, I think since there's been so many cautions, they might not be on the oldest of tires either when we're looking at stints for a lot of these drivers. I mean, when you look at Jake Cummings, I'm trying to look through my timing table now. I believe hasn't come down pit road, at least to my understanding here.
No, no one in the top 5 has. Got a couple of kind of off strategy picks there, 6th through 8th. To your point, Doug Newbinging, Wesley Shaw, Ethan Head, all on 16-lap old tires, and then just about everyone behind them on fresh tires. And you know, we got I'm seeing some more requests here for some onboards. We can potentially do a little onboard here, potentially with Andrew Burrell this time around as he'll cycle back in. I do believe he has scored 1 lap down here, but very much still running in this field. And you can really get a sense of how tough it is to gauge these restarts at the back of the field, because all of a sudden you'll see just how much movement and how much moving and shifting is going to be happening even just from the start-finish line into turn 1. So we'll see if we can do a little ride along here with the 121 of Andrew Burrell on this restart.
Pace lights. Oh, lights on the pace car are out. He's going to send it back down pit road. Jake Cummings, Sean Campbell going to line up side by side, and green flag is back out here in Homestead. Jake Cummings going to roar out to that huge jump, and he's going to be able to keep it out in front. Logan Smith. Oh, Aaron Brown.
That didn't take long. Aaron Brown, Ronan Suarez, and more around. They may have been 5 wide coming off of turn 2. That did not take long at all. And just like that, we're back under the yellow. The 16 of Aaron Brown was the first car that we saw sideways, but he was certainly not the only one, as I believe they were about 5 wide coming off the corner there. Take a look at this. Aaron Brown up at the fence. He's got DeLong, Zabosian, and Nanny all to his inside, and just ran out of real estate up there. Yeah, I mean, from that angle, it's tough to tell. Madison Ulrich slides right on through the gap.
And I mean, obviously with 4-wide racing, there's no margin for error, and I think the 16 got into the wall. It feels like the wall can grab you at times, and he was just trying to get unstuck from the wall, send it down a little too far in front of Andrew Burrow, or not Andrew Burrow, that is Austin DeLong. And obviously, I mean, 4 wide is not ideal. It's not that it's unheard of here in Homestead, but nonetheless, you know, you're definitely going to be holding on as hard as you can as a driver to try and just hold your line. And really, I guess they weren't even 4 wide; they were still 3 wide. But nonetheless, just calamity further on back to the field sends Aaron Brown around. The Eastern Shore machine is going to have to try and recover a little bit. Oh, geez, to get some more damage at the end of that.
Yeah, I think he also collected Reese Bayhem right at the tail end of that. So the 16 on pit road, he's already won one of them this year, but I don't think tonight's going to make number 2 for the 16 of Aaron Brown. He has had a tough go of things as we are back under the yellow once again here. Got the an earlier question there, Brad, of what was our plan for Halloween. We heard yours a little bit about, you know, trying to terrify children in an inflatable T-Rex costume and then hosting a Halloween party. You know, not necessarily Halloween plans per se, but I've actually got some family coming into town that weekend that I'll be able to host for a little bit, which will be cool. I haven't had a chance to see them in a couple months, so it'll be nice to see them and kind of spend the weekend together. Producer Lee, anything you got going on for Halloween this year? Producer Lee said Halloween not cool enough, so that's kind of what we're doing for the Halloween time. So appreciate the question there from William. And well, you know, we didn't get the chance to do the onboard with the 121 of Andrew Burrow last time around, but well, probably a good thing that we didn't, because boy, was there a lot of carnage happening right off the restart. Maybe this time around though, we can do the onboard with the 121 of Burrow.
And, I mean, Andrew Burrell, further on in the pack, you talked about it earlier, Alex. Just, you know, if you're pretty much in this back half of the pack at any point tonight, you're kind of, you know, dodging bullets, it seems like, at all times. And Andrew Burrell now currently sitting, I think after might be some pit stops and things, was scored in the 24th position, but we'll have to see where the Clemson machine lines up this time around. But you can see everyone's still trying to catch up back to the field. You're going to see exactly what it looks like to line up further back in this field, and obviously with it, you know, stacking up throughout the field, it's just harder to gauge those restarts when to actually go comparative to a lot of these guys up front. So we're going to ride on board with Andrew Burrell and see how it goes back here.
Yeah, and you'll see just how different it is with several more rows of cars in front of you versus running up at the front of the field. We've had a chance to highlight up there a lot. This is why we've seen so many cautions tonight, and you'll see from this onboard exactly what that looks like as the green flag is now in the air, immediately jumping out, fanning 3 wide. Little change up at the front of the field. Jake Cummings now in the lead. Sean Campbell there with him, as they go 2-3 wide off the corner once again.
Shooting down into 3 and 4 now. Sean Campbell holds firmly onto that second place position, and Auburn's Logan Smith is trying to hold on to third, but Aaron Ramon roaring that top lane and is going to be able to get closed off by the Auburn machine. And for now, it looks like these top 3 are settled in. As I say that, Doug Newbigging looking to the inside. The 07 from King's College is not done yet. We saw him making big moves earlier in the race, and he's not done. As he's looking to the inside, he's got no support down there. Everyone up on that higher line. We're going to dive it back down in the turns 3 and 4 for the King's College machine. Maybe trying to look into that 3rd place position. He's nose to nose through the middle of the corner with the 34. But the 34 is going to get that run coming out. And you can see Edward Sanchez also joining in on this group. He's got some fresh tires and trying to do something with him, along with Brandon Schulenberger right behind. You can see Edward Sanchez probably in the best position right now with those fresher tires along with these older tires. He's going to have that speed advantage wherever he goes, but right now he's stuck behind these side by side. Oh, an Auburn car. I think Reese Mayhem might be
Smith.
Around. Oh, Logan.
No,
Smith.
it's Ryan Smith in the 82 loses it off of turn 2. Heavy left front damage to Ryan Smith's number 82 machine. I believe tonight his debut here in the YumTwo College Cup Series has been going really well up until that moment right there.
Hard hit to the inside wall for the 82. And it started out as a solid night for the 82. I mean, climbing his way through the field. It's going to end a little early. He's got that major damage. You can see that whole left of that car is scuffed up all the way up to basically the middle of the hood. So 82 is going to have to go in for some repairs and try to salvage a good finish for tonight. Obviously, starting in 46, that's definitely something that, you know, in the first place, I don't know how many people in the CIL ever can say they started their CIL career, you know, outside the top 43 in qualifying. It's, oh, geez, a little bit of a checkup a little further up. Andrew Burrell just had to dive it down under the apron. But a lot of these guys just trying to do whatever they can. And one thing to note, Alex, I don't think we're going to see green flag stops here tonight. As you see the leaders now coming down pit road to get some fresh tires. But I was going to say, you don't have to commit going on the pit road until right off turn 4, where we saw everyone do that. And now Jake Cummins jumping in the pits along with everyone else. You saw Edward Sanchez stay out at the last second.
Yeah, so basically this is a combination of everybody who had been yet to come down pit road, plus a bunch of cars who are looking to either get off cycle or maybe repair some damage. Austin DeLong, Andrew Burrell, Reese Bayhem, Maverick Davis. It's the 121 and the 222 dive into their boxes. Sean Campbell leaving pit road now as well. And he's going to get out in front of the 15 as 15 and the 248 of Ferwetta making their stops. So got about another 10-15 cars who had just come down pit road. And with that, this is going to cycle a fascinating group of drivers into the top 5. Not necessarily fascinating because they're out of place. They're all incredibly fast drivers, and multiple of these folks, actually correction, every single one of the cars in the top 5 have won a race in the YumTwo College Cup Series here. But these are not drivers that we've seen necessarily in the top 5 here tonight. So Edward Sanchez, Brandon Schulenberger, Daniel Nanny, Matthew Morton, Clint Halterman currently scored as your top 5. Then behind them, Connor Zabosian, Zach Tallman, Tyler Skosen, Michael James, Riley Berkins. Both Tallman and, Skosen and James, all 3 of them, and Berkins actually. So for 7th through 10th, they're all drivers we've seen have some issues here tonight, but have rebounded in a big way. And you can see there on the left side of your screen, just as the indicator of where we're at, we still have about 50 minutes left in this session to get this race in. We've got just about 50 laps to go here from Homestead. Should be able to finish this on time, no problem. But just something to keep an eye on in case this is a caution-heavy ending as well. But certainly a mix-up at the front of the field. And Brad, do you have any different expectations in this lead group now that we're seeing, you know, a lot of, dare I say, very established names here in the College Cup Series up front?
Yeah, it's kind of weird to, you know, see some of these drivers that we've talked about a little bit tonight, and some of them who have seemed to be just remote in a whole different location this entire race find their way up to the front. And you can pretty much say anyone in this top 6 or 7 or so that, you know, we talk about them consistently, they found their way up to the front, which is the most important part. After halfway, that's where you want to be. So, you know, pace lights are out on the pace car. We're going to see if Edward Sanchez is able to keep that 26 in front of the 7 machine as the green flag drops here in Homestead, and he gets a huge jump going into turn 1. Daniel Nanny's trying to follow suit side by side with Brandon Schollenberger.
Here we go through 1 and 2. Nanny gonna move up to second. First and second in the points right now are running 2 and 4 as Morton's in there, and Riley Perkins goes for a ride down the back straightaway, and that is once again gonna bring out the yellow flag. Riley Perkins in the 33 went for a wild ride down the backstretch. You can take one more look at it here. Or producer Lee could say that, quote, his iRacing hates him, which honestly might be some justified claims here tonight. We've had some some weird gremlins, all weird things that have been going on. You see that Riley Perkins in the middle of Michael James and Drew Williams. And yeah, it looks like the 99 just kept working his way up the track a little bit, and you know, wasn't a lot of contact, but you know, when you make contact of any kind, Brad, with that, you know, left rear quarter panel, it doesn't take a lot of force to get that car to start getting unsettled.
Yeah, and yet again, I mean, this track typically obviously has a lot of different lines you can run, and obviously comfortability is a factor, but at the same time, you know, the car might handle a little differently than what the driver wants, and sometimes that all the car has to do is just have one lapse in judgment, or not even the car, just the driver have one lapse in judgment, and you can't really save the next gen sometimes. And yeah, I think a lot of these cautions here tonight, that can be just the understatement.
So we're going to take a quick commercial break for the first time in about 50 laps or so. When we come back, continued coverage of tonight's race from Homestead-Miami Speedway, plus tonight's big question. You won't want to miss what it is. We'll be back in just a moment.
When you're behind the wheel, you need precision, timing, and teamwork. Racing isn't a solo sport. You need your pit crew and your driver. Neither is cooking. That's why we built YumTwo. YumTwo is your cooking co-driver that lets you cook and find recipes that you'll both like with whatever preferences you have. No matter how hard or how easy it is to find recipes, we'll always have a recipe for you to pick. We're sponsoring the College Cup Series this season, but off the track, we want to sponsor your dinner. Get on the grid before launch and join the waitlist now at YumTwo.com.
Where you can learn by doing, the University of Northwestern Ohio puts the wrench in your hand and your future in motion.
I would recommend UNOH to anybody who wants to excel in this industry.
With industry connections, cutting-edge equipment, and programs in automotive, diesel, high performance, robotics, and more, this is education that works.
You will come to this school and you will leave 10 times what you were when you came here.
Apply now at unoh.edu.
All right, folks, we are back. Lights are out on the pace car, which means next time by, we're going green. But tonight's big question, you know, it is spooky season, Halloween just around the corner. What is, for the folks in chat, if you want to, feel free to answer, what is your favorite, you know, spooky movie, scary movie, horror movie? Doesn't matter what it is, but would love to know what it is and why. And Brad, I'm going to pose that same question to you. Do you have a favorite spooky season movie?
I mean, I think you can't go wrong with any of the Scream movies, in my opinion. And one that haunts me to this day is pretty much either Final Destination 2, 3, or 4. I don't know if you want to call that technically Halloween scary, but still scary nonetheless. But I think A Quiet Place, either of the movies that have came out for it, those are solid films, in my opinion, that I think I could watch at any point and still feel scared.
Yeah, I mean, they do a phenomenal job with those. I'm inclined to concur with those. And, of course, can't go wrong with any of the Screams. Also seeing a Nightmare Before Christmas in the chat, another classic, as we are green once again on board with Edward Sanchez here in the 26. He is your race leader as he'll dive it down into turn 1.
And
here we go.
You could see the absolute advantage of just having that front row. You can just drive wherever you want, feel like you're on an island of your own, but right behind him, it's not the same story. You can see Dan and Andy trying to track down the 26, and there's some more action happening behind them, but for now, these two just trying to track each other down. You can see Nanny coming out of the corner. He's shifting up, and that's one thing to notice while we're riding on board, that obviously coming out of the turns, these guys are shifting down into 4th and back up into 5th, coming in and out of these turns to try and get a little extra traction in the middle of the turn with those higher revs. As you see the battle for 3rd ongoing, Brandon Schoenberger, it's a little out of sorts, and is going to have to maybe drop 4th place as well, as he's under attack from Connor Zabosian. The Kettering driver making his way through the field right now and currently sitting in a top 5 position, but maybe wanting more as he's looking to the outside of Brandon Schoenberger. Schoenberger's not clear, and that's going to leave the door wide open for the 72, as Clint Halterman also joining in here, looking right behind him, and it looks like the 72 is going to be able to keep that position for now. Brandon Schoenberger is going to drive it through the middle of the corner, but that drive out of the higher lane is going to just propel him into that 4th place position. So you see a little more action further on back. A couple of those drivers that are on the inside line right now are those drivers who have fresher tires that, you know, are trying to make their way through the field. I think the first car on those fresher tires is Sean Campbell in 11th, but he's currently 3 wide.
And to your point of what you were saying a second ago there about the 72 of Connor Zabosian as he moves up the 4th, when we've talked about Kettering and their drivers this year, the focus of it a lot, I think, has been on Maverick Davis. Of course, he has that win at Talladega. He was fast in the Clash. But Zabosian's right there in the points as well. Maverick Davis is 9th. Zabosian's 11th. He's just done it in a far less flashy kind of way. And right now, battling inside the top 5, Clint Halterman just made that move to go up the 4th. But he's up there with Halterman, who was on the podium last week. He's in there with Schulenberger, who's the current points leader. I mean, this is a very fierce crowd in this group for 4th, 5th, and 6th as they run right now. But everyone continues to try to chase down Edward Sanchez. Daniel Nanny starting to get there, though. He's only about a car length and a half back of the 26 through 1 and 2. As you see, just a lot of cars. The big thing tonight is these cars are having, I think these are very tight setups on the fixed up, because these cars just continue to push out, and I've seen a lot of cars try to knock down that outside wall tonight.
Yeah, and I think you can keep seeing it as the smoke flies off that outside lane whenever they're coming out of the corner. You know, obviously with that bottom lane, you don't have to worry about riding against that wall, and if you're on that outside lane, like we see Connor Zabosian is doing right now against Brandon Schoenberger trying to hold on the 5th, like, you can see coming out of the corner, you're just up against that wall as much as you can, trying to just use as much of the track as you can to get the momentum, get the speed going down the backstretch, and that's what propelled the 72 to keep the 5th position and not have to worry about being side by side, and is all clear all around now coming out of turn 4. You can see also Drew Williams earlier in that earlier wreck, but climbing his way back up through the field, now currently sitting in 7th, right in front of Jake Cummings and a lot of others right behind him, but he's doing a good job of rebounding from that earlier hard hit into the inside wall. Must not have damaged the car too much, as you see, oh, Doug Newbigging around. King's College Machine is going to send it to the inside and not hit the wall, but nonetheless bring out a caution.
Caution's out once again here on lap 83. This time it's the King's College car of Doug Newbigging. You see here the 07 right in front of Sean Campbell. That car just stepped out on him. He's trying to get the throttle down just a little bit sooner than the car wanted them to. No damage, though, for the 07. Definitely flat spotted the tires. We'll need to replace those, but that's about it for the 07. So it could have been a lot worse. One of the more tame incidents we've seen on the racetrack here tonight, but another one that happened from inside, you know, the top 10, top 12 area. As we now are settling in with, I guess when I was saying there was 50 laps to go earlier, it was actually 60 laps. Now there's about 50 laps to go in this race. And, you know, math, not a strong suit here in the old CIL booth, even though, you know, this is the Collegiate iRacing League. People here, to some degree, have had some collegiate experience, and yet math still seems to be a struggle point, but that probably explains why I was a business major.
You'd think for me being an auditor, I would know that, but sometimes it happens. It happens. And obviously, I mean, Alex, we didn't get to your side of the big question before the last restart. What is your... I don't think anyone's coming down pit road, by the way, so jump in. Oh, never mind.
We got a couple takers, including the guy who was sitting second. Daniel Nanny makes his stop. Yeah,
My
big
camera
group
point
here.
was-
A lot of folks getting some damage repaired. Of the cars who were kind of really in the mix in the top 20, only a couple, but notably the guy in second place. And this is going to be huge because this is going to get him very off cycle compared to the folks he was just racing against, and maybe give him some fresh tires that he can work with the rest of the way here. He's going to be on 24 lap fresher tires than, say, Edward Sanchez or Matthew Morton. But to answer what you were saying a second ago there, Brad, as far as spooky movies are concerned, I am a sucker for, it was mentioned in chat, but I'm also a sucker for Nightmare Before Christmas. I think that's a fun one. If I want kind of like a lighthearted spooky. If I want to get like truly terrified, though, I tell you what, something about Us, that Jordan Peele one, that always really seems to get me whenever I watch that one. That's a fun one. That one's pretty good.
I also had-
Friday the 13th is also, I mean, that's whole series. Can't really go wrong with that one.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, definitely good picks. I watched Sinners recently. I had no idea what to expect in that movie, and I definitely wasn't expecting everything that was going on in that movie. I think that was probably the most intense movie I've watched in my life, and I don't know what prompted that, but that's also another horror film that I think definitely is worth the watch. As we're jumping back here into the race here in Homestead, you can see the big movers yet again. Zach Tallman leading the field here in most positions gained, and Edward Sanchez, obviously someone who has had to make his way up through the field to get to that first position. Clint Halterman also there sitting in third, and Zach Tallman started 48th. Again, another stipulation, you could say that someone that started in 48th, probably you're going to finish, wherever you finish in the field here tonight, it's going to be the highest position placed by a 48th starting field position driver. So a lot of firsts here in Homestead, Alex, I think, with this extended field.
Yeah, a lot of firsts, except for the old caution counter, which last time around just hit number 15 on the evening. So lights are going to go off on the pace car this time around. And I think what's incredible is even with the amount of cars that have been damaged, because there's been enough cautions, we still have 31 cars on the lead lap, but only 33 that are still on track. So a lot of the cars who are off the lead lap are fully and genuinely out of this thing. And yeah, I mean, it's just been one of those nights like Pocono a few weeks ago or Nashville toward the start of the season. It's been one of those times where you simply go, well, at some point we're going to figure it out, but until then, you just got to keep yourself in position and keep nailing these restarts.
Definitely a lot of restart practicing here tonight, and considering next week of Martinsville, the paperclip, somewhere that the CIL has not been to in a long time. I think that's a lot of people are gonna have to get the rust off of their short track prowess and hopefully have some good racing there. We'll see what happens next week at Martinsville, but tonight still here in Homestead for the Sandown is definitely better than this 200. We're gonna try and make this restart count as Edward Sanchez, Matthew Morton line up on the front row. Pace car sends it down pit road, drifting it yet again. Barney's got that green flag up in the air, and the 26 is going to have a huge jump coming across the line, and we are green yet again here in Homestead.
Sanchez, a nice jump to retain the lead here going in the one. Clint Halterman down to the apron to the back bumper. Now drifting up the racetrack, trying to cut off Matthew Morton. Boy, that was dangerous. Big block from the 100. He lost a ton of speed. Jake Cummings, Brandon Schulenberger, and Tyler Skozen all going to roar on past. Morton now 3 wide to the inside of Halterman. I don't know what happened to the 100 there, but boy, did he really struggle getting the throttle down off of 2. And now he's going to do a big elevator move. 3 wide going in the 1. They are going all out right now for about the 4th position here.
As I say, I think Tyler Skozen's caught in the middle of Clint Halterman's and Matthew Morton's beef coming out there. They're 3 wide still. I don't think Clint got that call until late. Sean Campbell's going to make it a 2-for-1 special and make it up into the 5th position now. The UNC Greensboro machine is just going to try and keep on chugging through this field, but right now that 5 machine of Matthew Morton lost a couple positions from the front row, and looking further on back here, it looks like Zach Tallman is now going to get back in the line here. Someone who we haven't talked about a lot today, Zach Tallman, along with Ethan Head, finding his way up to the 11th position now. These two trying to battle out for 10th, and also Edwin Onofre, Logan Smith having a little bit of a duel as Andrew Williams is around behind him. That's not going to pose a caution yet.
There's the yellow, because as he came back down the racetrack, he got tangled up with Lucas Moody. So the 123 of Drew Williams, the 13 of Lucas Moody, and I don't believe it was just those two. But multiple cars sideways down the backstretch. Turn 2 proving to be particularly treacherous here tonight. You see Williams was in the middle of this 3-wide battle. Got clipped a little bit, I think, by Bayham. Shoots up in the Riley Birkins. And then collects Wesley Shaw and Lucas Moody as he makes his way back down the racetrack as he was just trying to lock that thing down. And the caution will fly yet again here on lap 91.
And, there was a little synchronized spin there by Wesley Shaw and Lucas Moody. So I think Brendan Lyman was also just chilling there, able to split the gap between those two. But still, out in front, Edward Sanchez, the Baruch machine, someone who, he has been someone that has been fast, and it's just pretty much the luck of the draw if he's going to be stuck in a caution and then, have to travel through the field the whole day, or if he's going to be fast and stay fast. And I think that fate so far for a lot of drivers have not been on their side, but for Edward Sanchez so far doing so good. The 26, we've seen, a lot of these drivers, no matter where they are in the field, they might be stuck with a curse and hitting that inside wall out of turn 2 or 4 maybe. But, Edward Sanchez doing a great job of keeping himself in front of the pace car even, and leading the field here in the later half of this race. We got a couple others. Obviously, we talked about Jake Cummings, but someone that might not have been on everyone's radar so far tonight, Tyler Skozen, I would like to highlight. He's up from 16th now to 6th, and Edwin Onofre right behind him as well. Someone top 5 in points, started 41st up to 7th. So those two on a charge, along with Logan Smith, that we've seen him a lot today, up to 8th, and right behind him. We've talked about I feel like it's an annual talk about Zach Tallman gaining a lot of positions right now. Well, not annual, but routine. He's up from 48th to 9th.
Yeah, a lot of big movers in this top 10. Going back to a second, what you were just saying about Edward Sanchez and Jake Cummings, the two cars currently sitting first and second in the field. When we came to Homestead last season, these two cars both finished with the top 5 result. Cummings finished 4th and Sanchez finished 5th. Both of these guys really know how to get it done here at this racetrack. And the only other car who's still on the track who finished top 5 in this race a season ago was Daniel Nanny, who ended up winning the whole dang thing. And right now, that 30 car, he's not too far away on those fresher tires. He's up to 11th, and by far on the freshest tires of anybody here in this top 11. The only other car reasonably close is Logan Smith, who's still on 13-lap older tires. Most of this field is looking at the closer to 22-lap older tires. So something to keep an eye on as this thing progresses. And more cars to keep an eye on there. Clint Halterman currently scored in 20th. He is the first car on the freshest tires in the field. He just came down pit road a second ago. His next time by, it will be 40 laps to go here from Homestead-Miami. About 40 laps and about, say, 30 minutes left in this race, whatever comes first.
Ace car is going to have those lights out yet again, going through 3 and 4. And we'll see if the Baruch machine is able to keep that big jump that he's been able to do so far today when he's been at the helm. But right now, it's a 26 of Edward Sanchez against the 95 of Jake Cummings coming to the line right now. Right behind him, Brandon Schollenberger, Matthew Morton as they get a huge jump. Sanchez already up to the top lane as they come across the line. A great jump for the 26, and now Brandon Schollenberger's looking to the inside.
Yeah, here we go. Schollenberger to the back bumper of Cummings for second. Matthew Morton getting up to the wall here. Going to try to slide into third, and he will. Little over-under making the move here on Jake Cummings. Matthew Morton on the charge. He's up to second now. as Tyler Skosen takes a peek to Schulenberger for fourth just behind him. There they go off of turn 4. Everyone jockeying for position, less than 40 laps to go. And right now, everyone chasing Edward Sanchez up at the front of the field. He's looking pretty stout at the moment.
I mean, Sean Campbell had a great move coming down the front stretch. He was able to break a 3-wide battle and make up 2 positions in the meantime. He's up to 5th position. The timing table's having a little bit of a problem right now. It looks like scoring for Weta at the top for some reason. But nonetheless, Edward Sanchez is at the helm. Don't you worry. As we're looking at Sean Campbell, Brandon Schulenberger fighting it out for the 4th position. And that was simple for Sean Campbell. Campbell was able to get around the 7 real quick as the 9 is setting charge up towards the front. A little 2-wide action behind them, a battle for 6. It looks like Skosen's able to close the door for 6 on Edwin Onofre, but right behind them, Daniel Nanny, who remember is on those fresher tires compared to everyone up here. He is making his way through the field. He's currently in the 8th position, trying to see if he can get around the Tyler Skosen, Edwin Onofre, and Logan Smith back there.
If you want to get a sense of where things are getting really hectic, there's a pretty wild battle happening from around Zach Tallman on back, that 14th to 18th range. They are just, climbing on top of each other right now, trying to get some track position. Yeah, Clint Halterman kind of caught up in all of that. So there's a lot unfolding here on the racetrack. See Sean Campbell all the way up to the fence here. And there's that battle. Zach Tallman trying to hold off Zabosian and Bayham. Easier said than done. He has a mirror full of them right now as Lucas Moody, Andrew Burrell going elbows out in the 1.
And this is where everyone, you're on those fresher tires. You're trying to make them work. You're trying to make them worth it. As you can see everyone here, Clint Halterman on that ultra low line, making it 3 wide now, coming down the backstretch. Reese Bayham, Zach Tallman sending it into 3 and 4. 3 wide behind them with Lucas Moody, Connor Zabosian. Zabosian handed it out to the wall. Zach Tallman as well, but Clint Halterman, you could see the grip in those fresher tires, able to let him wrap around that bottom lane. But you can see there's also no support or run coming out of 4 there. And Zach Tallman right now on the wrong trajectory. Oh, Clint Halterman sliding through 1. He's able to save it, but he's going to lose a ton of spots. Andrew Burrell is stuck behind him as well. He's going to lose a bunch of spots.
And we take a look here. This is the battle Zabosian to the inside of Tallman, a little deeper in this field. They're running about, say, 15th, 16th on the racetrack right now. Things starting to single file out in this lead group a little bit. Edward Sanchez has the advantage for now. He's about a quarter second ahead of Matthew Morton. We know that the timing table is a bit out of sync at the moment, folks. We are working to get that patched up, but up at the front of the field, Edward Sanchez leads over Matthew Morton. And then Jake Cummings, Sean Campbell, Brandon Schulenberger. Your top 5. It'll be 33 laps to go this time around. Edward Sanchez, winner at Bristol not too long ago, looking for his 2nd ever YumTwo College Cup Series win. And Matthew Morton trying to put on the pressure here, looking for his 3rd this season. As the battle between Baruch and Ohio State's heating up at the front of the field.
Right now, if you're anyone on this track right now, you're not wanting Matthew Morton right behind you. All-time leading CIL Cup Series leader in mile-and-a-half track. He's leader in mile-and-a-half wins here in the CIL, and nonetheless, obviously he knows how to get it done. But Edward Sanchez, someone who we haven't seen too much at the front this season, right now making it worth it, doing a great job. He is definitely putting on the pace, and right now the 5 is just trying to stay somewhat close to the 26 and try to, it looks like the 26 got a little shaky coming out of turn 2, and that might be something we haven't brought up yet today, or really in these past couple of races, and that is the tire wear in some of these drivers. I mean, obviously with all these different pit strategies, these top 2 are on the same pit cycle, so really these 2 don't have to worry about it. But once you go further on back, it's varying, and really once you get back to 5th place of Daniel Nanny, he's on about 15 lap fresher tires than these 2 up here. So if these 2 can't get figured out, and if somehow Daniel Nanny's able to get around Jake Cummings and Sean Campbell, he's going to have a handful with just also along with Matthew Morton, with Daniel Nanny. And that's not to say these other 2 of Jake Cummings and Sean Campbell can't make something happen, because they're also on fresher tires than these top 2.
Yeah, so here we go off of turn 4. Matthew Morton putting on the pressure right now. Less than a car length separate first and second. Morton maybe going to take a peek here in the 1. Big slide down to the bottom of the racetrack. Sanchez is going to block that line. A lot of aero block here from the 26. Oh, but that car did not like getting back to the throttle off of 2. It's going to put Morton right back on the scene here into turn 3. And this battling is starting to let Jake Cummings get into the picture here. And he is going to be bringing Sean Campbell and Daniel Nenny with him if the leaders aren't careful. Edward Sanchez has the edge for now as they cross the stripe once again. But boy, Matthew Morton is knocking on the door. He's going to try to take that spot away any second now.
Looking further on back here, you can see it's the battle for 16th between Lucas Moody. Well, it looks like a bunch of cars. It looks like Brian Ferretta is making the most of it. We have a caution.
Yellow's out. Edward Sanchez sideways off of turn 2 from the race lead. He gets tangled up with Matt Morton just as we were jumping back here a little further in the field. We saw the 26 have a little bit of issues getting the throttle down last time, and boy, heavy damage for Sanchez's car. Last lap, the 26, we saw just had a little bit of trouble getting back to the throttle, and that time, similar deal, but Morton was a lot closer, and the 2 got tangled up. Heavy damage for the 26. That is the second time tonight, Brad, we've seen first and second get tangled up coming off of turn 2.
And just taking the air off the back of that 26 machine, I think made the Baruch machine walk up the track, and obviously was the demise. I think Matthew Morton is currently in an unlucky spell. I mean, he was part of an incident earlier today, and now he was having a great push back through the field, and now he's going to have to get some damages repaired after that incident here with Edward Sanchez. But that leaves Jake Cummings and Sean Campbell to the helm. The last week's winner back up here on the front row currently. We said he can get it done no matter where you go, if it's an oval or a road course, but obviously here I think he's trying to make sure everyone knows that he is here to stay on these when it comes to an oval race, as well as we have everyone coming down pit road, Alex.
Yeah, big opportunity here for probably the golden stop here. Final opportunity. Come down pit road, get some fresh tires, get some fuel, and get prepped and ready to go for the end of this thing. Got to execute here. Can't afford any mistakes. Get into the box clean. Don't speed. Looks like everyone got onto pit road good and fine. The race off of pit road is going to be really interesting. Here goes Daniel Nenny. Had the pit way further back compared to the folks he's racing against off pit road. Here goes Campbell down and away. Same with Schulenberger and Cummings. And Cummings actually was a little further on back. So Campbell wins the race off pit road. Schulenberger and Nanny. Then Ronan Suarez is going to be the 4th car off pit road.
Yeah, I don't think Jake Cummings didn't have a great pit stop. He might have landed a little short or too far in his pit box and ended up costing him valuable time, and now 6 positions. As you can see, Daniel Nanny, pretty much everyone else that was around him further on up. Ronan Suarez and Tyler Skozen doing a great job of gaining some positions there. And, some of those faces we were talking about earlier in the race making their way back up to the front. But right now, it seems like Lucas Moody, I think it's the only car that stayed out, Alex, if I'm reading this correctly.
You are pretty close to doing so. I think Connor Sabosian and Michael James may have as well. And then Logan Smith technically has come down pit road, I think. But I don't think he actually stopped in his pit box. So he's going to cycle up the 4th. So it's Sabosian and Moody, James and Logan Smith, and then Sean Campbell, Brandon Schulenberger, who are on the fresh tires here. Sean Campbell looking to go back-to-back after winning last week at Road Atlanta. He does have 2 career wins in this series on an oval. Got to go all the way back to Season 2 at the old layout of Phoenix before they repaved it for the dogleg. And then Season 4 at Auto Club, so never has won on a 1.5 miles here in the YumTwo College Cup Series. Meanwhile, for Brandon Schulenberger, it has certainly been a moment as well. Has won before at Las Vegas, another 1.5 miles. This is the kind of track that really suits his style. And now with some issues for Morton, you know, you'd think Schulenberger would like to try to capitalize in the point situation, but only 4 points behind him tonight was Daniel Nanny, and that car is only one spot behind him on the racetrack. First and second in the points, sixth and seventh right now. Going to be really interesting to see how this plays out as the green flag's back in the air. Less than 25 to go here from Homestead. Lucas Moody with a great launch. He'll lead him in the turn one.
Earlier we were talking about maybe some unfortunate for Ball State, but right now Lucas Moody just trying to do anything he can and keep it up there. You can see Brandon Schulenberger putting the pressure to Michael James, just pushing that middle lane, and now able to get up to fourth. Ronan Suarez pushing it to 3 wide as Sean Campbell, Daniel Nanny also pushing by Michael James. And now Schulenberger looking for that third position from Logan Smith, looking to the inside through 3 and 4. He's going to keep it nose to nose with the 34, but the Auburn machine is going to be able to power through and at least keep the third position for this lap. He's going to file back in line, but now dive it back into turns 1 and 2. Sean Campbell patiently sitting there between these two, and Schulenberger gets a heck of a run through turns 1 and 2. You can see just how those older tires compare to those new tires, especially when it comes to the turns. And you know, the 7 can just throw that thing on the lower line and just drive it through and rotate the center of the corner. And now he's going to try and do the same thing to the 72 of Connor Zabosian. Looking to the inside of the Kettering machine, but that's not going to work coming out of 4, and he's going to foul back in line.
Here we go, single file basically through the top 10. Then we hit the corner and everyone fans back out. Lucas Moody doing a good job holding on those older tires right now, although Brandon Schulenberger knocking on the door as he makes his way potentially up the second. He might clear Zabosian here into 3. Sean Campbell, Daniel Nanny both diving to the inside as well. They're 4th and 5th. They're going to be side by side as well. And as they make their way off of 4, Schulenberger going to be side by side with Moody for the race lead. And we are rapidly closing in on the tail end of this race. Schulenberger trying to pry the lead away on those fresh tires. I don't think he's going to clear him here, but he might get close, may have a chance. Is there 3 wide for third just behind him? Zabosian's going to try to hold off both Campbell and Nanny into 3.
Those fresher tires, they're just trying to battle whatever they can. Schulenberger's going to get able to get in front of Lucas Moody and now take sole possession of that first place position. And now the battle for 4th is on. Sean Campbell, Daniel Nanny, these two have been fast all night. And now Daniel Nanny's going to try and use that bottom lane, get ahead of Sean Campbell, maybe use Connor Zabosian as a pick as he's able to slide up in front of the Kettering machine for 3rd. Ball State 2-3 right now, but right now it's all Wingate at the front as Brandon Schulenberger is trying to get some sort of a gap between him and the fresher tires on that lower lane. You can see those 3 on the bottom lane right now trying to do anything they can to just use these tires up as much as they can, but Daniel Nanny looking to the inside of his teammate of Lucas Moody right now.
Schulenberger has the lead. The points leader currently first. The guy second in the points is currently second as Nanny slides past his teammate Moody for that runner-up spot as they go. Moody settles back to 3rd. Sean Campbell, winner from a week ago, running in that 4th spot. Zabosian rounds out your top 5. Recognize we're still having a little bit of issues with that timing table. I don't think it's something that we're going to be able to fix tonight because ATVO has just been a little uncooperative. So we're going to try to keep you regularly updated on the rundown here as we're seeing it. Less than 20 laps to go from Homestead. It is getting racy up here at the front. Schulenberger and Nanny both on fresh tires. The advantage for the race leader right now, currently about 0.4 of a second. Is he going to be able to maintain that? We know the 30 is bad fast at these 1.5 miles.
And I think the easiest way to think of it right now is you see Sean Campbell's able to close the door and Lucas Moody is Ryan Ferretta currently scored in 8th. And you can see on that timing table, no one is currently sitting in 8th. So that's probably the easiest way to remember it right now is wherever you don't see a number in the top 10, that is where Brian Ferretta is. And Mavic Davis is further on back. But looking at the battles right now, you can see, Ronan Suarez gets a little loose coming out of 2. He's going to save it, keep it on the apron. He's going to try to rejoin after that little bit of a scare. We stay green here in Homestead. You can see that gap is getting ever so slightly smaller and smaller between the two drivers at the top of the standings and the timing table right now.
Yeah, right now that gap has shrunk from 0.4 to about 1/4 second The past couple laps here, Nanny is chopped off about a 1/10.5 to race leader Brandon Schulenberger. And Sean Campbell, don't look now, but the 9 is on a path here to the front. He got around Lucas Moody, and he's only about 2 car lengths back at the 30 now. And we may have ourselves a 3-horse race to the finish at the rate we're going here, because that 9 is ripping the fence and making up some time here. We chug along on the lap 118. Next time by, it'll be 15 laps to go. Schulenberger's advantage currently only 0.2 of a second. Nanny is closing in, but Sean Campbell is closing in to the 30 as well. It's about equidistant from first to second to third, and they are leaving everyone else behind.
And right now, I mean, these drivers, I don't think they've ran past the point of tire fall off here tonight. Because if you don't know, if you drive these cars, there's a fall off whenever you go from some fresh tires, and then after you run about 10 or so laps, you feel the tires just starting to give way. And right now, this is about a 12 lap green flag stint. So for a lot of these guys, they're starting to feel that fall off. So if they push their tires too hard on the opening 12 laps here, it's going to be harder for them to keep positioning, stay fast. As you see a little bit more fighting further on back there, as these 3 at the top still keeping the same distance. As you said, Alex, a little equidistant between each other. It just seems like Brandon Schulenberger has a great drive into the corner and out of the corner, and not able to let them have any sort of advantage at any point coming in or out of turns 1 or 2 or 3 and 4. So nonetheless, the Wingate machine tuned up and trying to just do anything he can with that clean air. And Sean Campbell might actually be looking to the inside of the 30 now.
Yeah, Campbell's to the inside of Nanny, side by side down the back straightaway. The 9 takes a peek to the inside. He's barely alongside him, but he's alongside him enough to get a dive here into 3 and 4. He got that car to rotate really nicely through the corner, slides up big time. And now Nanny going to try to capitalize on the other side. A little over-under move for the 30. He's going to dive to the apron and 1. And the dogfight continues for a second as the Wingate machine in front of him continues to slip away. Nanny reasserts control of second place, but boy, do we have ourselves a battle on our hands right now for that second position. Both of them had it that last lap. Campbell back to the drawing board here, about 3-4 car lengths back. Going to try to reset and mount another charge.
And you can see also somebody who we haven't really talked about, Jake Cummings right there in 4th spot. He's slowly gaining on this group of 3. I mean, Brandon Schulenberger is loving this battle and going on behind. That's kind of turned into not really a battle, as you can see. Sean Campbell leaves a little bit of distance to Daniel Nanny now. Nanny able to get a good bit of distance back from the 9 car and able to pull within a couple tenths now of Brandon Schulenberger and get himself back into the mix of things for the lead. And as we're sitting right now, also Doug Newbigging also sitting there in 5th place in an island of his own. You could see just still more battling going on from 6 on back.
Lucas Moody doing a terrific job, him and Connor Zabosian both on those older tires, trying to hang on to a top 10 run. They currently sit 2nd or 6th and 7th on the racetrack right now, with some cars on fresher tires getting held up a little bit for Weta. For Embry Riddle just slides on by. The 248 now going to be scored in the 6th position on the racetrack. Oh, and the caution's out. Must have been something further back in the field. I was watching the battle for the race lead. I'm trying to figure out exactly what went wrong here.
I think everyone's trying to figure out what happened here.
I think it may have been Austin DeLong in the 222 for the Penn College of Technology. I think he got out of sorts here off of turn 2. We'll take a look here at the replay. And Brad, there's no one really around him. I think he just loses it.
Yeah, Penn College Technology machine, you can see just gets a little loose and sends it to the inside. I mean, someone else also does the same exact. I'm surprised that's a caution, to be honest, for iRacing to throw that. I mean, he was completely out of the racing line, so I would think that Austin DeLong wouldn't be, any sort of danger to anyone else on the track for being that far out of the racing surface. But iRacing figured, you know what, we've had all these cautions so far, let's make this a little more interesting, I guess, coming to the end.
Yeah, so everyone basically staying outside of a couple of cars. Connor Zabosian very notable amongst them. He was still in the top 10, but on very old tires, and I think he's realizing this restart was going to really sink his running position, so he's going to take a gamble, put some fresh sets on, and see if he can make some distance against the cars who are on about 20-lap-old tires here. Up at the front, though, the top 6 all on even footing as far as tires are concerned, and they're all going to get grouped back together. Wingate's Brandon Schulenberger, Ball State's Daniel Nanny, UNC Greensboro's Sean Campbell, Jake Cummings for Converse, King's College's Doug Newbinging, and Embry-Riddle's Brian Ferretta currently make up the top 6. When this restarts, got to imagine it's going to be about, I don't know, 6 laps to go, probably, give or take. And it's going to be really just a sprint to the finish, Brad.
Yeah, and we do have a chance for a green-white checkered, and I don't think we're going to be at the hands of a time finish here tonight. I don't think I can jinx myself by saying that, but nonetheless, I think that obviously that throws a wrench into plans, especially for Brandon Schulenberger, who was having a comfortable lead to, start that whole thing, and then eventually, once this caution comes out, that just lets Daniel Nanny back to your back bumper. Sean Campbell, who can be a great intimidator behind you, just just bother the heck out of you. But if you're Brandon Schulenberger, you could definitely think, if you get yourself in a good position, get that great jump coming out of turn 1, I think that you could be able to, comfortably hold that lead through 1 and 2. And, Daniel Nanny and Sean Campbell are 2 aggressive drivers. They're going to let everything loose and leave everything on the track. So, I would expect anything if you're Wingate's Brandon Schulenberger. But further on back here, we mentioned Jake Cummings. He was sitting right there outside of those top 3 battling through it. And we've seen him win, races previous in the YumTwo College Cup Series. So he is someone to keep your eyes on if everything goes wacko up here in the top 3. But, King's College's Doug Newbinging, and someone we haven't talked about, Brian Ferretta, had a great starting position of 3rd, has been around there all day, but he is finally, sitting pretty right now, trying to get into the top 5 and maybe some more. But we'll see what happens here. The lights on the pace car are back out. You see Brandon Schulenberger, Daniel Nanny pulling back to the bumper of the pace cars. It drifts on down to pit road, green flag in hand, and we are green back again here in Homestead. And Brandon Schulenberger doesn't get a huge jump on Daniel Nanny. Nanny's able to keep it to the corner panel of the 7 going into 1, and now Brandon Schulenberger able to drive it in there deep and try to keep the lead. But you see, it looks like Daniel Nanny hauled back a little bit into turn 1. He's going to try and get a run coming down the backstretch.
Here we go down the back straightaway. Schulenberger, a car length and a half over Nanny. Cummings and Campbell sit 3rd and 4th. Jake Cummings has turned on the jets here late as Campbell tries to get that outside the works. Same with Ferretta, and Nanny's to the inside of Schulenberger for the race lead down the front straightaway. 5 laps to go, side by side for the win here at Homestead.
Man, oh man, we got 4 cars looking for everything, but Daniel Nanny right now is able to drive it through 1 and 2 and get ahead of Brandon Schulenberger. Schulenberger's going to have to try and get some sort. Oh, he hits the wall a little bit. That's going to ruin the run for him and Jake Cummings. Now Sean Campbell looking to the inside. Looks like there was a car off pace further on back, but we stay green for the moment. Campbell looking to the inside of Brandon Schulenberger. Jake Cummings washes up a little bit. Doug Newbinging has now entered into this picture, and now Brandon Schulenberger firmly holds on 2nd. Sean Campbell 3rd, and now it's a battle for 4th between Jake Cummings and Doug Newbinging.
Yeah, a lot to fight for still in this top 5, and Daniel Nanny isn't free yet. It's only a 3/10 gap back to Brandon Schulenberger as we run. Take a look at this. That is Jake Cummings and Doug Newbinging side by side for the 4th position, or the 5th position here, trying to make it 4th, as you see Sean Campbell in the mix there as well. And off of turn 4, the 30 of Daniel Nanny's got the edge just a little bit. Schulenberger starting to get a mirror full of Sean Campbell.
It was kind of set up the same way, except Brandon Schulenberger and Daniel Nanny flip-flop. Nanny is currently out to I think the biggest lead we've had in the final 20 laps here of this race tonight, coming to lap 130 out of 133 with 3 to go. as Sean Campbell, he's been ripping this outside line all night, making it work, getting a huge run coming down the front stretch. Schellenberger is going to try and close the door, but that run is going to help the UNC Greensboro machine. He's going to get all up on the back bumper of the Wingate machine, and Brandon Schellenberger sends it to the bottom lane, and Sean Campbell follows him right down there through 1 and 2. These two are on the apron trying to just see if they can even catch up to the 30. Daniel Nanny is loving this battling right now between these two for second place. And then there's a gap further on back to Doug Newbigging. Jake Cummings falls back to the 5th place position, well, 6th place position for now, as Brian Ferretta is able to make it work on that outside lane. The Embry-Riddle machine now into the top 5.
Here we go, 2 laps to go. Nanny has about a 4-car length advantage over Schulenberger, who's still fending off Sean Campbell. As things sit, things are looking pretty right now for the driver of the 30 machine. Just trying to hold on to this thing and figure out the way to bring this thing home in one piece. Looking for win number 2 on the season, number 3 if you count the Clash. He won at a very caution-filled race at Pocono 2 weeks ago. And with the white flag out this time by, he's looking to do it again. The white flag presented by the Napa Longland Corporation. For your car, truck, or SUV, get the Napa know-how with Longland, as through 1 and 2, that gap has exploded. Daniel Nanny off of turn 2 for the final time tonight. Schulenberger and Campbell continue to battle for that second spot. Campbell might get a run here into turn 3. They're still duking it out, but it's not going to be enough tonight for the top prize. Coming off of turn 4 for the final time to the checkered flag for the second time this season, Daniel Nanny is going to win tonight here in Miami.
Brandon Schellenberger by a nose gets in front of Sean Campbell. So we have a, Daniel Nanny was able to extend his lead, have a great pace at the end of this race. And Sean Campbell tried to do everything he could to get that second place position, but ends up in the 3rd spot. I believe as it stands right now, Brian Ferretta finishes 4th. A great drive by the Embry-Riddle machine. And Doug Newbigging started 35th, ends up in 5th.
Yeah, fantastic drive for really every guy we just mentioned there in the top 5. Some stellar stuff. But ultimately, it's going to be the reigning champ going back to victory lane, and most notably going to be picking up those big points for the win here tonight. That might be enough to propel him into number 1 here in the point standings after tonight. Even though Schulenberger did put up a runner-up finish, man, we are shaping up for a really wild points battle through the end of this thing. Should be really wild as you see Nanny burning it down here on the front straightaway. All right, folks. With that, we're going to step aside for the final time here tonight. One more quick commercial break. When we come back, it'll be your final race results, including interviews with your podium finishers. You won't want to miss what they've got to say after a wild finish here tonight. We'll be back in just a moment.
When you're behind the wheel, you need precision, timing, and teamwork. Racing isn't a solo sport. You need your pit crew and your driver. Neither is cooking. That's why we built YumTwo. YumTwo is your cooking co-driver that lets you cook and find recipes that you'll both like with whatever preferences you have. No matter how hard or how easy it is to find recipes, we'll always have a recipe for you to pick. We're sponsoring the College Cup Series this season, but off the track, we want to sponsor your dinner. Get on the grid before launch and join the waitlist now at YumTwo.com.
University of Northwestern Ohio, the industry listens.
UNOH has a fantastic reputation. I feel the confidence that I can go anywhere in this country and there is someone that is looking for someone like me.
Our graduates are known, our programs are respected, and our students, they're future-proof.
You don't see a school like this every day, so I'm very happy I found this place.
Turn your passion into a career at unoh.edu. Northwestern Ohio, racing isn't just a class, it's a lifestyle.
Every single day, I go to class and we're thinking about racing. And on the weekends, it's about racing. Literally, my entire life is racing now, and I just love it.
At UNOH, your classroom is a garage. Your homework, horsepower. And your network, the racetrack.
Making the connections with all those people is huge. That's how you get somewhere in racing, and UNOH definitely helps you with that.
Apply now at unoh.edu.
And we are back, folks, after a wild one here tonight at Homestead-Miami. And that man right there, Daniel Nenny, was the one who ended up picking up the race win here tonight. And we are going to join him now in victory lane. Once I can actually click on the button broadcast booth. There we go. Hey, Daniel, this is Alex and Brad up in the CIL booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Tell you what, win number 2 on the season. There's something about these races that spend most of it under yellow that seems to be really fitting your ability to capitalize on the restarts. You won a really wild one at Pocono a couple weeks ago. Now tonight here at Homestead. Talk to us, I guess, a little bit about your race tonight, particularly, let's say the last 40 laps or so when there was actually some things going on.
Yeah, I don't know what we were doing. I don't know what created for this type of racing to happen, but yeah, I mean, from the get-go, it was a cluster, from the admin to accidentally launching the qualifying session over to the race, and I wasn't able to even get a qualifying lap in. So starting like 32nd, I think I started. It wasn't exactly ideal, but yeah, I mean, I've been part of a couple of incidents there. I had a minute of damage at one point of the race, but with all these cautions, it just kept rolling in, and I managed to find my way up there towards the front again and take home the win.
And that you did. That is win number 3, I guess I could say, on the season for you, counting the clash. Second points paying win for you, though. And I believe that should, I unconfirmed, but I do believe that should push you up to top of the point standings after tonight with 5 races to go. How do you feel about the past couple weeks here? Not that you started the season bad, but really kind of turn it on here and really adding some pressure here to some of the other front runners.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting to even wait for the championship to come around. I was just gonna do this race, this series for fun. But there's a plus side when you're consistent. And yeah, I mean, I don't know how the points are gonna look next week. I don't plan on doing Mountainville. That just seemed not very fun. I use that as my drop week. So yeah, I guess we'll find out and see where I am in points after Mountainville.
Alrighty, so I guess normally I would sign these off with we'll see you next week at, but if you're not going to be at Martinsville, then I guess we will see you in 2 weeks' time. I believe it's at Kentucky 2 weeks from now. But Daniel, anyone you'd like to shout out on the win here tonight?
I got to shout out everybody here in Seattle and for showing up and actually making the race. Everybody made the race, so congratulations to everybody. Of course, I got to shout out Ball State for giving me the opportunity that they have given me, and I'm very grateful for them and the entire summation team. I got to shout out my parents for always supporting me and watching these races, and yeah, I also got to shout out everybody who tuned into my stream. So thank you guys very much, and hopefully I get to see everybody again.
Alrighty, and we hope to see you in I guess 2 weeks' time. Come to Kentucky. Congrats on the win here tonight, Daniel, and congrats on unofficially moving up to the top of the YumTwo College Cup Series point standings.
Thank you guys so much.
And that is your winner here tonight. Driver of the number 30 machine from Ball State, Daniel Nenny, gets the job done. Joining us now, Brad, I believe you've caught up with our runner-up finisher, number 7, Brandon Schulenberger.
I am here with Wingate's Brandon Schulenberger. Brandon, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, after last week, you had 20th place position at Road Atlanta, and, trying to keep up with that, in your words, your greatest season so far. A second place finish here in Homestead. How was your mindset coming into Miami here tonight, and then leaving it with not only a second place position, but pretty much you're pretty much having a fist fight right now with Daniel Nenny at the top of the standings.
Yeah, I knew last week I rode Atlanta was gonna be really tough. I'm not great at that track, and I was on fall break, so I was out of town, so I didn't get to practice. And then summarized probably 3 self spins and a drive through on incident points, and I somehow managed the top 20. I was just proud to even survive after that. But going into tonight, I've always enjoyed this track. I just never felt like I've had good luck here. There's always one incident that's always just screwed me over, and expected once we had 48 cars and qualifying was accidentally simmed early. I knew we were in for a treat, is one way to say it. And then it was the cautions, and it looked very similar to Pocono, so I knew when you were to pit that first time and where you were going to come out with the track position was going to be a big deal. And then we started to get a few green flag runs, right? And then we pitted that second time, and I knew me, Nanny, and Sean we came out together, and I think we came out fourth, fifth, and sixth. And I knew it was going to be the one who could get through the top three the fastest was going to be sitting in the driver's seat, and I actually did a really good job getting through those, and it took them a little longer. And my mindset from there was just to maintain and save a little bit of tire, so when either one of them got to me, it was going to be tougher for them, and I was just hoping they'd burn their stuff up, and it looked like that was going to happen, man. I was proud of myself. I thought I did all the right things, and then once again we saw that yellow flag one more time, and I knew I was in trouble. Just the short run speed wasn't there for me. I wasn't confident off of two, and I also hadn't downshifted all night, so I quickly saw the entry speed advantage they had, so I had to adjust to that. And by that point, Nanny was ahead of me, and from there it was just trying to hold Sean off for a P2.
As I say, you probably had maybe the cleanest car all night. I don't believe you were in any incidents, at least to my recollection here tonight. I know a lot of cars were in something at some sort. I mean, Nanny
Yeah.
and maybe Sean maybe might be the only other car that didn't get into something here tonight. But was you're consistently having great finishes here this season. I know we talked about 20th last week, but nonetheless, I mean, consistency is key this season, and you and Nanny are doing a great job of that. And when it comes to next week, it sounds like Nanny might not even be at Martinsville. So I guess my first question there, are you going to be at Martinsville?
Yeah, I should be there.
Okay. So I guess looking into the future there, is your mindset going through the rest of this season, try to just finish the race, try to just keep some sort of semblance of consistency through the rest of the season, since especially it sounds like it might be a good point stay no matter what you do at Martinsville, even if you finish 43rd there. But nonetheless, is that your mindset, or do you have any type of goal through the rest of the end of the season?
Man, it's so tough, and I've been really now I've got to keep a strong eye on the 30 car, and knowing that knowledge, I hope he's not at Martinsville. Just I need any lineage I can get. But Morton wrecking out tonight was a big deal. Obviously, because I mean that guy's just fantastic at driving these race cars. Um, I mean, I think just the be able to be fighting for a championship is crazy. Knowing where we've came from in previous seasons, it still really isn't hitting me, to be honest. I going into next week, I think it's gonna have to be the same motto it's been for what's worked to me all the way up to this point, which is just to try and walk away with the clean race car in top tens, and knowing we're going to Martinsville next week, I'm expecting a demolition derby, so it's going to be qualify well and just stay ahead of the trouble, which is what we did tonight for the most part, and mile and a halves have always been my strongest. I'm sure a lot say that, but I've always excelled at those beyond the rest. So if I get through next week with a clean sweep, I'll be looking much more confident into the rest of the season.
Well, we're looking forward to that. But before we let you go, is there anyone you would like to shout out here tonight?
Yeah, shout out to y'all for sitting through that one, and hopefully it finally got excited there at the end. Shout out to the girlfriend. I know she watches these. Shout out to OWR and just this league for keeping it rolling.
All right. Well, it's always a pleasure to have you up here in the booth, Brandon. Hope you have a good rest of your night, and we'll see you next week here at the Paperclip.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
All right. And that was your second place finisher, Brandon Schoenberger from Wingate University. We're going to throw it back up to the booth with Alex, who is sitting with our third place finisher and now third place in the standings, Sean Campbell from UNC Greensboro.
Hey there, Sean. This is Alex up in the CIL booth. You got a copy?
Yep.
I tell you what, good way to build off of a win last week is getting back on the podium here tonight. And, we knew you had the juice on the road courses, but tonight you proved you had a bit of that on the ovals as well. Great stuff working your way through the field and had yourself quite the battle there with Schulenberger at the end. The nature of this race, I'll just focus on when we were actually going green, say the last 40 laps or so. What was it like when you were actually kind of getting rolling there?
Well, I don't know. It kind of felt like I was finally getting a chance to get the axe to grind, basically, right? Because for a really long time, I've been out of the CIL, and I haven't been able to prove that I can still drive on an oval. The road course, duh, but it's been a while, so I thought I might have been washed up there for a while because it's like every single time I'm qualifying 20th and then 18th and etc. So it's good to finally do good.
Yeah, and I mean that you did, and tell you what, this stretch of races where you've put together some pretty solid results. I mean, you're very much, maybe a surprise to some folks at the start of the season who wouldn't have thought it. But I mean, it shouldn't be that much of a shock, I suppose, that you're very much in this title fight here with only 5 races to go. Came into tonight, I think, tied for 4th, and put together a podium run here tonight. I mean, you're right in the thick of it, my man. How has that been, kind of seeing the progression week in, week out?
It's interesting, because it's usually you find out it's usually the fastest people that win, and I am not the fastest people on oval. I just happen to get lucky, and I happen to play it safe, and it works out. Especially now with the with this setup, it was tight with a snap of loose in mid corner, which I think caught a lot of people out. There was a lot of people that got caught out in front of me, which is how I found my way up into 3rd.
Yeah, particularly it seemed like coming off of turn 2 was particularly treacherous for that exact thing you were talking about tonight. How did you kind of go about navigating around that, knowing that we all have the fixed setup here tonight? So everyone's running with that same sort of problem. How did you go about kind of getting around it?
I just called back on the LMDH experience because the Cadillac LMDH is really similar, honestly, to how this drives, where it's like right as you get on throttle, the car wants to rotate. And in those cars, it's really devastating if you get a bunch of rotation on the tires. So we kind of, by necessity, have to learn how to kind of feather foot it. So it felt really nice. There were those occasions, though, where you go on the bottom line and you get tight because you're in the lane with everybody, and then you go up a little bit and then get that snap. Those were kind of sketchy, especially on the restarts with the cold tires. It was sometimes really sketchy, but just kept it together and it worked out.
That certainly did. You put it back on the podium here, 2nd week in a row. And Sean, anyone you'd like to shout out here tonight on the podium finish?
Schulenberger for racing McLean. It was nice.
It was a fun battle to watch. Yeah. Alrighty, well, Sean, congrats on the podium finish, and we will potentially see you next week here at Martinsville.
Hopefully, Martinsville's kind of tough.
It certainly is, and I know there's been some thoughts on that one, but too early to call on what'll happen there. So, congrats again, and we'll see you, if nothing else, the next time we see you.
All right, thanks.
And that is your 3rd place finisher here tonight, Sean Campbell, representing the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. With that, it's time to bring up tonight's final race results. Daniel Nanny got the job done, picking up his 2nd victory of the season. Brandon Schulenberger and Sean Campbell were the other cars who rounded out our podium here tonight. Rest of the top 10 going to be popping up on your screen here in just a moment. We are going to see if these are right. I believe that this is, but do take this with a grain of salt because we've had a little bit of ATVO issues tonight. Brian Ferwetta for Embry Riddle. He'll pick up a 4th place finish here tonight. A great drive for him. Doug Newbigging is going to put it home 5th here tonight for King's College. Jake Cummings finishes 6th here tonight for Converse, just ahead of Edward Sanchez. Boy, what a rally back for the Brew College driver. Tyler Skozen will finish 8th for the University of Northwestern Ohio. Edwin Onofre continues his good run of form as of late. He'll put it 9th here for North Texas. And Ronan Suarez from the pole holds on for a top 10 finish for Santa Monica College.
Looking back here at Connor Zabosian, started 38th, finished at 11th for Kettering. Right behind him, Andrew Burrell from Clemson University in 12th. 13th, we have the 13 of Lucas Moody from Ball State University. Logan Smith from Auburn finishes right behind him. Started 40th, ended up 14th. Clint Halterman from UNC Charlotte finishes 15th. Trey Lambrecht from Texas A&M University San Antonio finishes 16th. The Zach Tallman, who started 48th, finishes 17th from Penn College of Technology. Aaron Ramon from Texas A&M International University finishes 18th. Maverick Davis from Kettering finishes 19th. And rounding out your top 20, Riley Perkins from New England College.
Yeah, 21st here tonight. That's 21st through 30th. Gonna pop up on the screen. Michael James from the University of Drexel will bring it home there, P21. Reese Bayham from Auburn, 22nd. Robbie Hotchkiss, 23rd here tonight for New England College. Austin DeLong, 24th for the Penn College of Technology. Lee Winters from Vincennes started 43rd. He'll finish 25th. Madison Ulrich will finish 26th here tonight for Otterbein. Texas A&M Texarkana driver Wesley Shaw will be 27th as the last car on the lead lap. Brennan Lyman finishes 2 laps down for the Oklahoma Panhandle State University. Ethan Head and Jack Wilson from Tennessee and North Georgia, respectively, round out your top 30.
And 31st and 32nd, a pairing of 2 fast drivers we saw here tonight met with some unfortunate endings as Matthew Morton finishes in 31st from Ohio State, and 32nd is Drew Williams from Clemson. 33rd, Ryan Smith from Auburn University, and you can see pretty much all of these drivers here were involved in an incident at some point that ended their day. Aaron Brown, 34th from Eastern Shore Community College. Garrett Vighton from ASU, 35th. Jack Clemens, Ryan Whitlock, Roger Primo, Miguel Carrera, and Keegan Cowlick round out your top 40 here tonight.
And the rest of the cars in the field going to pop up now because we had more than just a couple here who all jumped into this one. Carter Capini, Kelton Quick, Ethan Decatur, Logan McKim, Zach DeWell, and Logan Harpine all logged some laps here tonight as well, but they all crashed out early in this one. And that is going to do it here tonight from the Homestead-Miami Speedway. Brad, any final thoughts on the start of our string of 1.5 miles to round out the season?
When we had some green flag running, it was a good time. I think a lot of these drivers just, got to learn back what these cars are meant for, and that is the 1.5 mile tracks. And, a lot of the time, these cars can be fun, but I think Sean did a great job of describing how, these setups can get the best of you sometimes. And I think for these 1.5 mile tracks, these drivers are just going to have to be more dependent on learning the setup and, getting better at it throughout the week, especially with traffic and with dirty air and everything included. So unless you're like Brandon Schollenberger, Daniel Nanny, anyone that was at the front, I think a lot of these drivers just, go back to the drawing board, figure out how to battle in traffic. And, the best test of how to battle in traffic is going to be a short track. And that is what we have next week at the good old Martinsville Paperclip.
That is right. Coming up next week, October 27th, 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time, the show will kick off for Race 9 of the YumTwo College Cup Series season. It'll be live from Martinsville Speedway. The Formula College Series this week is also happening on October 23rd, this Thursday at 8:45 p.m. They're going to Barber Motorsports Park. That's a great combination of car and track, that IndyCar and Barber Motorsports Park. That's going to be a ton of fun. You'll want to tune into that one. And again, you've seen a couple of the commercials for it, but we want to thank the folks over at YumTwo for continuing to be the season-long partner of the College Cup Series. Without their support, it would be a lot harder to do what we do. So big thank you to YumTwo as well. You can join the waitlist today at YumTwo.com. That's YumTwo.com. But for everyone else here at the CIL, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. It's been a great time here tonight, even with, the stop and start nature of the way this thing kicked off. We had a lot of fun interactions with chat here tonight, so thank you for participating if you did. But for all the admins, the stewards, for producer Lee Kane and co-commentator Brad Daniels, I've been Alex Gagnon saying thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you next week